And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Sling'N podcast, episode 97. My name is Kent Hauer. I'm the single solo only hostess with the mostest guy. And because of that, I can't beat my boops. My beeps have been booped. Yo, how we doing, everybody, tonight? I'm flying solo, and there's a good reason for that. We'll discuss that here in a little bit. But, yeah, the topic of tonight's show is about the kids and the families and all that stuff. And Mr. TJ is not dead. He is simply dealing with 0-day nonsense in the IT world. Some of you may or may not understand that, but any Hoosers, his real job takes priority right now while he deals with, the Russians or the Chinese or who's ever screwing with them. Looks like we got an active chat already. Most of the Apache boys. Hello, all. If at any point anybody wants to jump in the show tonight, just tell me the magic word and I'll send you the beeps so you can boop on. But when I considered asking all of my friends, many of whom are already logging in and saying what's up, about coming on here to do this topic, it occurred to me that I was literally saying, hey, it's the holidays. I want to do a show about this. So let's talk about prioritizing family. And by the way, can I pull you away from your family? So those two things didn't square with me. That's why I didn't ask nobody else to do this with me. So that's the first and foremost. But we got the things to get out of the ways. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. The season is in full effect. Green Mountain Defense's Christmas sale is still going on. Xmas 21 is the code for that, for a huge chunk off of everything on our website, including classes. So if you have any kind of intention of taking any classes from us into the new year until 1/1/22, Xmas 2021 will still be live on the website. So check that out. Also, thank you to those that make the show possible, Primary Arms. Thanks so much for the product and support over the last year. And thank you to all our other affiliates. Check those out, www.greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links. You're going to buy quality gun gear anyway. You might as well buy it from us. TJ's got the description in the show tonight. That's got all the places where you can buy the shirts and the T-shirts and all the cool stuff from us. And, the charity donations will be going out within the next week or two, so that we can matter of fact, TJ might have already done them, so we can knock them off of the 2021 books moving into 2022. So that's where all the charity stuff will go. So all that being said and out of the way, tonight's topic is, hey, let's talk about getting our kids and our families out onto the Habari Gani. What the hell is that? Landon, I have no idea what you just said. Talking about getting our kids and our families out onto the range. For those that follow Green Mountain Defense, my business can't send the link. Yeah, but Frank, I didn't want to make you work. Hold on, Frank, I'll link you. And you boys all want to come on. Email to Frank. Here it comes. Email. Holy crap. Can't beep the boops. The boops are beeping. We're getting there. Just shut down the show, maybe? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Here we go. Oh, God. To Frank. Any of you other dudes want to jump in here? Just say so. Here comes Frank. No. Cool. I have no idea what email that comes from. Hey, Phoenix. What up? Oh, it's the correct way to wish somebody a happy Kwanzaa. How do you say that? Habri Ganai. All right. Happy Kwanzaa. That's cool. Didn't know that. Yeah. So bringing the kids to the range, and what did I do? But I bought Mr. James, who's this tall, very short, little human, just a little bit over 2 years old. I bought Mr. James his first firearm. I bought him a Ruger American rimfire 22 bolt gun in the Predator version with the threaded barrels and all the things. So that way, Mr. Howard can come out with Big Daddy Howard, and he can come out to the range. Is he old enough to use it right this minute? No, but we're getting close. My point with this is, we all invest piles of money in our kids for the Christmas and the holidays, and we invest it in what's up, Kitty? How you doing? Vanessa, Kitty, up in the house. We invest all this money in Xboxes and games and toys and stuff that literally his grandmother and his mom and blah blah blah. We bought him all this stuff, and we spent the day after Christmas getting rid of all last year's toys and putting all this year's toys in place. And you look around, and you go, my God, $1,500 worth of shit that's going to end up getting sold at the yard sale for $200. So what should Daddy do? Well, Daddy should invest in something real that little man can use, like coming into life as a gift that will bear the test of time. There are rifles in my safe that my father gave to me before I knew he gave them to me, right? That's the point. So when we talk about bringing the kids in and bringing the family in, the first thing you have to do is you have to put your money where your mouth is and make the investment on the stuff that they'll be able to use and benefit from. So it'd be pretty disingenuous of me to be like, oh, I bought James his first Chambers custom night fighter. Sure not going to shoot it. And then go, stack 30,000 rounds on this thing before the kid ever puts his hands on it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, hey, man, we boxed you up this here a gun. We put it in the safe. It will not get touched unless you are with me. I'll zero it for you. I'll set it up. We'll screw the little sound reduction device and do the whole thing on it. But this way, it is truly yours, right? As opposed to ours or mine or something that Daddy's just letting you borrow. Dinner showed up. Deer burger in the house. Thank you, dear. My deer bought me a deer burger. Thanks, Sophers. So if we're talking about bringing kids to the range, this is an audio podcast. You must say words.
Yay!
There we go. Hand signals do nothing for us. Thank you, Soph. Thanks for the food. Appreciate you. Let's see. So, yeah, that's the first thing we got to do is we got to make the investment. The second thing that we got to do is once we've made this investment, we can't downward dictate. Listen, you little son of a gun, you're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. The pod is about to cast. Mr. Frank's not here yet. Frank, jump in whenever. He's probably poor guy. He's probably didn't know he was doing this. I really didn't mean for him to feel like he had to come on. But if there's anybody else on here who wants to come on and talk about their kids, I'll put you up live. We're playing the romper room today. But, we can't force the kid. We can't, you will do the following. Daddy has bought you this, so this will happen. You got to be willing to go, hey, man, I put a couple hundo into this, and homeboy may have no interest. Hi, Frank.
They can't.
Man, so what I had said was I really didn't want to pull somebody else away from their family to talk about prioritizing family.
So I was literally sitting on the couch with Candace, just watching, some TV, just kind of hanging out. Then, I got the text about the podcast, so I pulled it up. Then you started talking about something that was oh so dear to my heart.
Right.
And I was like, Candace, I love you. Can I? And she said, yeah, sure, go ahead, do your thing. I'm gonna go to bed.
As long as you ask permission.
Yeah, I did. And she brought me some Oreos and some milk, so I'm going to be a fatty and sit here and enjoy this. And
she's a fantastic human being. That kid.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, man. But the whole thing was right. It was I wasn't going to. When TJ told me he couldn't do this, I was like, listen, I'm going to do it because it matters enough to talk about. I'll do it solo. I don't give a shit. But it's funny because what you and I should have done is we should have just recorded our phone call.
Yeah.
Where we talked about me getting James's rifle, right? And where I was like, do I? Is it too early? Is it not? Frank is a little bit younger than me, but he's a senior in his dadness, right? He's been a dad for a hot minute longer than I have. So he was like, oh, dude, this is what I did. This is how I did it. This is when I did it. And he had some really good stuff put together. So to catch you up while you were getting your Oreos and peep booping your way onto here. Basically what I said so far is, number one, daddy and mommy got to make the investment. They got to set aside some funds that don't go to Hess trucks and, Tinker Tots and Hot Wheels and wherever the hell else. And, some goes to the hobby stuff. And number two is that dad or mom cannot downward dictate the kid and like, hey, just because this is my thing, it 100% has to be yours.
Right.
Because that has a tendency to go pretty poorly.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the things that I enjoy doing now, I learned to enjoy doing later in life. And I know my dad was into it. And I think the reason I wasn't so into it was dad was like hell bent that I was going to be into it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
You got thoughts on those two things before we plow forward?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. And there's a lot of, especially as guys, you go, all right, I'm going to go buy this gun, for my spouse, for my kid, whatever it is. And it really becomes your gun. Like, it really needs to be set aside just for them. And, I think we'll probably talk about some of our conversation a little bit later in the show. But, for me, I love this topic. Like, I really do. I have a real, not so much buying a firearm for one of your kids or something like that, but it really, teaching, children at a young age, how to, properly respect a tool and understand what it's capable of. And then, have an appreciation for it, even beyond, using it as a tool. It's a way of building a relationship with your kids that they will remember that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's one of the things I will say is that dad obviously got the hunting and fishing and shooting through to me. Mm-hmm. The peripherals are some of the things that I didn't at first get. Like, for example, I know how to tie flies. My father effing knew how to tie flies.
Right.
There's a 15-year gap to where I didn't have any interest in that, but now I see the value. Reloading, same deal, right? Like, there's a huge gap there. Skeet shooting, different types of shooting that I may or may not have been into, when I was all full of piss and vinegar and the whole world was about the AR-15 and the Glock, and that's all that mattered. Right. Which, I mean, let's be honest, I was at the range today. What do you think I shot? But still, it's one of those things where you look and you go, man, I appreciate some of what dad was into about this. And I am personally in a position where my father's not with us anymore. We lost him way too early. When I think about time spent with dad, it's often in this realm.
Right.
Now, my mom did a great job with the skiing and the winter sports and some of the other stuff that, doesn't really apply to this show. But it's interesting how there's like a couple things you did with your parents that really translate and become lasting.
Oh, yeah.
Parts of your makeup and your personality.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking right along with that, some of my more fonder memories of spending time with my grandfather, my dad, really revolved around a firearm, and so it's those long lasting memories that, that are still near and dear to my heart. So I was, when I asked you to send the text, I ran downstairs real quick to my vault. I went ahead and grabbed, this is my, and we can see the action's clear. No live ammo and anything like that. But this is, my little Henry repeating 22. I mean, this is one that when I was a kid, this was given to me. I was probably 7, 8, something like that.
That's the OG Henry too. That's several models ago.
Yeah, this is mine. And there's just something, I don't know, special about, this particular gun to me. Many a squirrel has been slain. Many of, soda can has been pierced by this, this particular rifle. And, but this is what really started, my marksmanship fundamentals. I mean, the firearm safety rules. And, I was on a farm. So, I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't like I was inner city or anything like that, but, it established, a baseline for me. And it was one of these things where, growing up, some of my memories of, just going out into the woods, not, we weren't big hunters or anything like that, but just being together with my family, was just yeah, I have, like I said, those strong memories wrapped around that. I remember, so I was real wrapped up in Barney. Like Barney was the thing. I had that big purple stuffed dinosaur like little thing. I mean, I was all
I
about.
wasn't sure if you were going Fife or dinosaur.
Yeah, no, dinosaur, little purple dinosaur. Yeah.
All right.
And I remember the very first semi-auto 22 that my dad or grandfather had picked up. They were like, "Hey, yeah, you want to shoot this?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Like I was probably 10 or so at the time. They're like, "Cool. But you can shoot this, but you have to shoot your Barney. Like you have to get rid of this thing." Because it was, stinky old measly, whatever. So we took it down. I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." So I took this little Barney thing down. It was almost like a coming of age tale, man. We set this target down range, which
So
is
Barney was your lassie, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it was exactly, yeah.
Oh wow.
I brought it down there and set everything up, and then it was just like, all right, man. I just peppered that Barney with that little semi-auto 22, just dumb thing, and I loved it. Like it was just, it was a thing that, yeah, I remember to this day, clear as day. And I kind of left behind my Barney. It was my, my security blanket, if you will. And then I moved on to bigger and better things.
Good old Frank put down the Barney and picked up the Beretta.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Or some other bee. I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably some sort of, I don't know, Marlin or something.
Yeah, but there's no alliteration in that, so it's not nearly as fun.
Right. Yeah. So
talking funny, silly family stories. I'll give you one involving guns in my young age, right?
Yeah.
So what occurs to me, which means a lot, is that there are innate things that come up in our culture that we have no control over, that are bred into our children without us doing anything. For my son, what is very clear to me is his interest in farm equipment for sure comes from his granddaddy.
Oh yeah.
He's got the lineage of his granddaddy when it comes to that. Boy will sit on that mower. That boy wants to weed whack. He wants to blow leaves. He wants to rake. He is not happy playing. He wants to work. Right? Oh Lordy, thank you. Right? Like it makes me feel so good. I'm a little worried, though, if he gets his granddaddy's gun handling skills, because I got a story for you.
All right, hit me.
So, one of my early hunting experience is involved the old Chevy Cheyenne 1500s. Grandpa had 2 Cheyenne 1500s on the farm. Well, he had 2 running Cheyenne 1500s on the farm. He had about 4 or 5 in various conditions of disrepair.
Right.
That, used to be like, hey, go rip the fuel pump out of that one and put it in that one, and we'll keep on keeping on, or whatever the deal was, right? So you'd all pile in the back of these Cheyennes and ride out into the farm. At this moment in time, Grandpa wasn't even living there anymore. He had since retired from the farm. Another gentleman was running the place in his stead. But I was there hunting. One of the things my family did that was pretty neat was that my parents had divorced. This place was on my mom's side, but my dad was given permission to hunt it in order to hunt with his kids.
Right.
Pretty,
yeah,
pretty legit. Long story short, here's my dad and my granddad, who's his ex-father-in-law, right? Hunting together, loading a bunch of dudes up in the back of one of these trucks, and out we go out throughout the fields. And hey, you sit here, you watch that way. You sit here, you watch that way. You sit up here, you watch that way. We're going to put on a deer drive. And, get left with my granddaddy and my daddy, because, they're the old man and I'm the little man. So we're all going to sit by the truck. And here come the deer. And in the story that I remember in my head, there's about 478 deer came running through this sumbitch. It's probably about 4.78 deer is what actually came running.
Right.
But in my head, here come the stampede, right? And off cracked the shots. I never picked up the 20 gauge with pumpkin ball in it. That never happened. My father shot 2 of those deer. My grandfather shot at the rest of them from the hip with the 35 lever gun. Whack, whack, whack,
Oh my
whack,
God.
whack, whack. That man didn't hit nothing but mountain and the bed of his own pickup truck.
Oh my gosh.
So, all I'm saying is if James has some innateness from his granddaddy, I hope to hell it's his interest in work ethic and tools. And maybe he's a little more like his old man when it comes to shooting. But I'll never forget that story. And that story is one of those, you're familiar with the concept of like Native American folklore where nothing was ever written down.
Right.
And stories were verbally transcribed through generations. I would bet that 70% of that story is true, right?
Right.
Now, I mean, mind you, I'm 7 years old or 8 years older, however, when this happened. It's not like it happened to me last Tuesday and I'm making it up.
Right.
But this is the version of the story that got told. His grandpa died. This is the version of the story my dad told. You know how this stuff goes.
Yeah.
It started with 3 deer and he hit the bed rail once. Now there's 30 deer. He hit the bed rail 11 times, did a barrel roll, and yelled, "Come get me, you sons of bitches," or what,
Right.
There's sure some folklore in this. But I'm telling you right now, I remember that way less than I remember being in the jump seat in the middle of that truck between my father and my grandfather. And if you think about what it must have took as men who were otherwise at odds, right?
Right.
Like my daddy had disrespected this man's daughter. Don't you forget.
Right.
And yet when it come to raising little dude, they were man enough to get together and give me some experiences.
Right.
And I guarantee you neither of those men could remember how much they spent on the rifles they took. They couldn't remember how much we spent on dinner that night up the road. They couldn't. There's 100 things that expenditures of time, effort, energy, and money that neither of those men remembered at their graves. But I know firsthand that both those men remembered that day.
Right.
That's my point. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
God damn it. I'm such a sap. But that's what I'm talking about, right? So like you've got your little ones, a little girl and a little guy, and
Yep.
you've got your version of that lever gun, that 22 Henry.
I do. Yep. I mean, for me, like I said, it was growing up it was those memories that just really bound that, so it's kind of just like a sentimental thing to me. And it's not really just my family, there's other, kids, again, with permission of their, their adults with, their parents, guardians, that I've gotten firearms for also. And it's always the same gun or the same variation of gun. It's always a Henry lever gun. It's just, for me, it's just, like I said, part of it's sentimental. The other part of it is like, that was my first gun. So, I mean, that's what, there's something special about the lever action. There's just something unique about it. I really enjoy it. For me, you could even chalk it up as, it's an added safety, if you will. Instead of, pressing trigger and it going bang each time with a regular, semi-auto, it's you purposely have to do an action each and every time. So that's one of the things that what attracted me so much to it, especially for a novice shooter, a kid specifically. But no, yeah, noms, all the foods. Yeah, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so.
It's
venison burger.
Oh yeah, yum. Was that your Zach steak you got there?
No, this is the 3-pointer from hell from the Cox farm or whatever he's calling that place. Yeah. The 3-pointer that waited till the last millisecond to show up.
That's great. And so for me, just moving right on into it. I ended up picking up a couple of firearms for my kids. They have not, neither of them have shot them yet. It's one of the things where waiting till they have interest, they really want to go for it. But the same thing, like Henry 22, I just had some special work done to it just for special occasion. I wanted the ability to be able to run a suppressor if the time came. that kind of thing. So that'd be one less thing as far as ear pro and things like that that we'd have to be concerned about. But again, it's just something very special in my heart. I really like how specifically Tim is approaching it with his kids.
Cool. So I'll run the questions by you then. So no names but ages.
Yeah.
The world knows my kid's name and they know his age or whatever.
Yep.
Go on ahead, fuck with James. Test that assumption at your convenience, please.
Been there, done that. It's not fun.
Right.
He will find you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you tried to play the fucking pranky prank.
Dude, that was completely by accident.
I remember. I remember. So now you got to tell the story. So of all the what is that, nom de gears or whatever that you could possibly use. Yeah. Poor Frank tried to use the fake name to fuck with me, and used my kid's name.
It just didn't even.
And as I'm wont to do, I called Frank because when you need somebody found, you call a beep booper. And TJ's too good of a human being, and also TJ would have gotten overly murderous overly quickly. So I called out Frank and I was like, Frank, I need to find this motherfucker. And he's like, who? And I told him. He's like, that's me. I'm like, excuse me? Yeah. Don't be saying my kid's name. I got all fucking. But anyway.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah. We picked that name out of a hat, and it just happened to be your kid's name. That was some bad luck right there.
That was some poor juju.
Yeah.
But point being, so Tim has a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Almost. It's the same as me. It's got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, she's okay. I thought she was a little older than that.
Nope.
Not bad.
2-year-old and 5-year-old.
All right.
And so kind of the same idea. He had purchased firearm, ultimately for his daughter, and he will not let her shoot it until she can recite all firearm safety rules unprompted, without any kind of help.
I've witnessed that. She was like 2.5 out of 4.
Yeah. I mean, he was talking with me the other night. He's like, she's so close. He's like, I have to say one word, and then she goes, oh, and then she gets it, but I can't do it until she says that word. He was like, it's almost to the point where, I want her to shoot it more than she probably wants to shoot it at this point.
Right.
Man, and I can relate to that. I really can. Unfortunately, my daughter is real into princesses and ponies and Frozen and all that stuff. So she just doesn't. She's not, interested yet, but I have a feeling as she gets a little bit older, she may feel, especially if, her friends are, interested in it. Like I know they will be. And, especially being around, Tim's family, and, we'll see. Time will tell. My boy, he's already getting his finger guns out and stuff like that. So it's only time will tell with him. It won't be too long. He's just a little young.
Dude, you guys saw the video. James is like dry firing.
Oh yeah.
Like no joke. My kid is dry firing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's all in.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's so why don't we do this? So Kent, what do you think is an appropriate age? When's a good place to start when you're considering working with kids, as far as with firearms?
Well, apparently, I think that appropriate age is 2 years and 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where it's happened in my house. It's happened organically.
Right.
I did not. What I started with on him is a sequence of things that matter to me. He needs to know how to hide. He needs to know who to go with and who not to go with. He needs to know when daddy's, no joke, not fucking around, right? There are things that he needs to know.
Right.
One of them happened to be he needs to know the word gun, and he needs to know that if there's a gun around, it better be dada's or mama's. And if it ain't, we got a problem now, don't we, right?
Right.
In no uncertain terms. And like there's no harm, no foul, right? Like you dudes come to the house, you stay here when you train here. That means there's all the guns, right?
Yeah, right.
But, he's walking around going, that gun? I'm like, Well, Mr. Frank can have a gun. Dad, that gun? Yeah, well, Mr. Zach can have a gun. Dad, that gun? Maybe we should take Landon's. He's a little drunk. Good looking out, kid. Like, but no, seriously, like for him to go, that's a gun.
Right.
And his instinct is not to want to play with it because I associated like, hey, man, don't touch that. Hey, I've treated guns much the same way as I've treated knives and hot stoves and ledges. And like, hey, let me show you how to navigate this. But it's not for you to navigate by yourself just yet.
Yeah. And, and for us, we did it just a little bit differently. So I ended up starting off with, especially with Harper when she was little, like I would take the orange dummy guns and I would purposefully leave them around the house. Not that you would ever leave a gun unintended,
right.
But it got to the point where she was like, that right there. Let me go get mommy and daddy. Let me show them this, that kind of thing. And that's worked out really well for us. And then on the other side of that, it's the, just showing them, that it's something that has to be respected and, what they need to do if they do see something like that. I'm not concerned with my kids at my house with the guns that are here. I'm more concerned about when they go to their friends, or that may not have the same, discipline with, locking their guns up or whatever it may be, making sure that they can't get access to them. That's
just your friends or your people you associate with. Like I know single dudes who are down for the training sickness that like there's guns all over their damn house.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I've been in places, you're pulling out stuff out of sofas and, they're under pillow guns and stuff like that, which whatever.
Right, yeah, I'm not into that either, but
no. But, to each their own. I'm not going to knock it. My kid's just not going to go there.
5 years ago, you could have walked into my workshop and there'd have been like, if I turn this camera that way, whatever 2/3 of the way done project I might have had going on.
Right.
Well, yeah, Zach. Like, actually, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but like, dude, Zach lives like with another adult, in a home,
That'll change
on a damn farm in the middle of nowhere, way behind a gate where nobody else is going. He has no reason to be worried about somebody walking into his property and picking up one of the 5 or 6 rifles that he's effing with at any given time or whatever. Right. And Zach's also like, if he's not, Marsha's damn sure smart enough to have been like if we were bringing the kid down, they'd have probably been like, we should probably put up some of these here guns, right?
Well, and when Marsha pushes out a kid, I think that's all going to change, so, we'll see.
Don't you love planning other people's lives for them?
Oh, I know. I am so excited. So we're having a meeting that's coming up and the Apache crew. And at this meeting, I extended an invitation for, feel free to bring friends and family, things like that. Just let me know as far as food and get that all taken care of. Landon has a +1.
I know. I heard and saw that.
I am so excited. I
this
hope
meeting's coming up, right? This is in a couple days, right?
Yeah. It's in a couple of days. I'm
going to tell you right now, when I saw that, I was like, I might show up to this thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I'm so excited. I can't. Like the more I'm not gonna talk any more about it. I don't want to spoil anything, but the closer it gets, the more hype I get. Like I'm pumped.
So the thing is like, okay, hold on. Dear internet girl, whoever and wherever you are, if you are Landon's +1 and you are watching this, the following is all out of love. Right? So there's that. That being said, I'm checking her out. Sounds bad, but he sent us a picture to be like, look, she's real, right? And I'm looking at this girl going, all right, I don't see a seeing eye dog, right? I don't see a helmet.
It don't look like a he.
No, there ain't no Adam's apple going on or nothing. I'll tell you what, old Pooh Bear. Here's the thing I know about pudgy young dudes with crazy work ethics is chicks do dig them.
Yep. Yeah. I'm excited. So I'm going to do my best to embarrass them. But anyway, we derailed the conversation, but I'm going to do my absolute best to, make a proper introduction.
Oh yeah. All the Landon stories. So, yeah, so it's funny, right? So Zach jumped up. He's running through his head as he does. He's like, wow, the nephews and the nieces and the people around here.
Right.
Yeah. So, point proven. Some folks show up to the farm to stay for the holidays, and all of a sudden, Zach's around there going, safe.
Right.
Doing the whole thing, as it should be. But not all the places your children are going to end up are occupied by professional firearms trainers.
That's right.
I had to ask James's grandma, about like, hey, are the guns put up? Like, it's a thing that you have to think about.
Right. North Carolina, and I'm not sure, let me know if there is something in Pennsylvania, but North Carolina, there's a Storage to Protect Minors Act.
Yeah.
So that's, that's absolutely something that, has to be enforced every time you purchase a firearm. There at least has to be some sort of notice down here. And
we get a pamphlet.
Yeah.
If your firearm is involved in an accidental discharge involving a minor, and you let that minor have access to the gun, you have some legal liability. Like,
same here.
Yeah,
I think or something like that.
We're not talking a 16-year-old kid kicking in your door trying to rob you.
No.
And offing himself with one of the guns he stole from you 3 weeks later.
Right.
We're talking, you show up to Uncle Zach's farm, and Uncle Zach got all hammered and left all the guns out, and one of the kids gets hurt.
Right.
Uncle Zach could have some problems. Like, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Only because, he was being used as the example. Not that he
Zach is going to be scapegoat the rest of the night.
Yeah, sorry. But when you look at that, you have to think like 60% of the households on planet Earth have a gun in them.
Right.
There's a pretty good chance that wherever, little Frank and little Kent end up, they're going to end up somewhere with guns. I just assume my kid be the one like, maybe not.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd share that same sentiment. It's really something that, I hope sticks. And, I think my dad illustrates it the best way. As parents, all we can do is, they're the arrow. So all we can do is pull them back in that bow and let it go. And where that arrow flies from there is completely up to them. It can dip and dive and twist and do all kinds of crazy stuff, but all we can do is just try and send them in a good direction and just let them go. So that's going to be entirely up to them, as they get older. We'll see.
I'll tell you this much. I would love to read your dad's parenting book, because he turned out one hell of an interesting kid.
Yeah, he's starting again. So there's that.
Right.
Not from ground zero, but they're doing the foster parent thing, which I think it's great. But that's something I would think I would think long and hard about if I was his age and wanting to bring teenage boys into my house. That's a lot, man.
Well, you left. Somebody's got to mow the lawn.
Yeah. Well, he's got big William for that.
I don't know. Just saying.
But
so once we get past the financial investment, once we get past the, hey, it's going to happen when it happens, I think we both agree that if it never happens, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, for sure.
If you can't approach it like that, you can't really approach it.
And just to add to that, from my point of view, that farm's not for naught. There's no reason why you can't invest in somebody else's, family. It's especially if it's, done for the right reasons, if it's done properly, sharing that gift or sharing that passion with other people, I think, is of the utmost importance.
So let's expand on that a little bit. You're a pretty charitable individual.
Sometimes.
There's no arguing that. And the most valuable resource I believe we can give anybody is time.
Yeah.
Right? So, how far reaching are you knowing you, I'm imagining that whoever, like, because there's somebody in your mind right now, whoever that person is.
There's a few people. Yeah.
Right. I'm guessing they're affiliated through church or they're affiliated through business or what?
Yeah. Through the range, really.
Okay.
Through the range and some personal, mentorship type things. The one that's immediately sticking in my mind right now. I'm not going to name them, but there is a young adult. I think he's a teenager now, either teen, preteen, who started coming out into the range. Gosh, a couple years ago, maybe. And it was, him and his mother. His mother was coming out and then doing some training with us. And he was just coming out and just hanging out because he had to be there because mom was there. I think he was 9 or 10 at the time. And instead of him just hanging out doing nothing, I started to work a little bit with him as far as, hey, man, do you like guns? And he was timid at first. And did the same kind of thing, worked through the firearm safety rules, and then, brought out just some little 22s and stuff like that I had. And this kid caught the bug. Like, it was, he was all about it, which was kind of neat because it was kind of counter to his personality. Like, if you knew
Right.
him, he's a big personality. Like, after you kind of broke that shell of the awkward shyness, like, just a cool kid, like, wore, different kind of jackets and shorts and pants and boots and did not care. Like, he was he was just his own person. And just cool guy. And anyway, so long story short, after working with him for several months, I wanted to be the one who got him his first firearm. Like, there was just something. I was just so magnetically attracted to this kid, in a professional sense. Like, I really enjoyed spending time with him. I really enjoyed working with him. He, was real receptive as far as listening to the commands I would give him. He was super safe. And I had a conversation with his mom. His birthday was coming up. I was like, hey, I would really like to do this. And she was like, yeah, sure, no problem. It was a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Because they came from a family that really didn't have firearms, And so I got them, same thing, just like what I showed you just a little bit ago. I got them little Henry, 22 lever gun. And, I got them a case and cleaning kit, the whole 9 yards. Ear Pro. Man, he that day, we gave him that gun. He was beside himself. Like, he was just so excited. Like, he was coming back week after week after week with that thing, and just doing great, learning a ton about it. And that started his journey. Now the same kid, this has been several years now, or a couple years now, I guess. He's now rocking a 9mm 1911. I mean, just slaying it, just absolutely slaying it.
Which 9mm 1911 you got him running?
It's a oh gosh, it's dang it, I got it because it was my NRA. It was my NRA gift. It was range officer. Or it was a range officer.
Springfield.
Springfield range officer.
Okay.
And with the it had Springfield range officer, and it had the Picatinny rail on the lower frame, so you could stick a light and so other other rinky stuff on it, whatever. And I had that thing just absolutely perfect as far as the action and everything. It was something I really tinkered with. Well, I had brought it out to the range one day, because I bring out all kinds of stuff just to let him shoot. I'm like, hey, you want to try this? Hey, you haven't shot this yet? Well, he shot this thing. And I think, if I remember correctly, he came and took it was a basics of pistol shooting class, an 8-hour class. And in that class, he shot that gun, and he did phenomenal. And he was like, I love that gun. This is what I want, because his birthday was coming up again. And his mom came up and said, hey, I want to buy that gun, or, let me know about, not that particular gun, but he wanted to find another 9mm 911. I was like, well, cool. He can buy this gun. Like this is here you go. You know, that one of those kind of things. And we worked it out. And then I had just gotten my laser engraver at the time. So we took, I went and bought black aluminum checkered grip panels. And I laser engraved his initials in the grip panels. And on the inside, his mom sent me a text with, exactly a special note, a special,
something
thing.
Mama wanted in there.
Yeah, some mom oriented on the inside of the grip panel. So now he's going to have this gun for the rest of his life. It's going to be an heirloom to him. On the inside of these grip panels, he has, his initials and stuff like that. And it has, a very special, mother son saying, thing between them that's inside. And it's special. It's just that's something he's always going to remember from his mom,
Does he know what's on the inside of the grip panels?
Oh yeah. We took it out right there, and it was a good. It was a good time. Like it was awesome. Yeah, it was.
It would also be cool if like someday the gun was in evidence.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, hey, your mama loves you. You're going to jail.
But it's. And I mean, I have other similar stories, but this, Zach said he's so fun to be around. Zach knows exactly what I'm talking about, but he's a phenomenal person. He's developing into a phenomenal, young man, and it's exciting to see. It's something that I think this is, kind of really helped with, his growth, and I think it's helped with his personality a little bit. It's kind of broken that shell. It's just phenomenal. Like I really enjoy it. Love it.
So Phoenix is going to jump on here.
All right, cool.
He's going to talk about mama stuff, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, sure. That sounds great.
22332205884. Text me your email where I can send you a link and we'll get you on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that we get asked a lot, I know I do, and I know you do as a professional trainer, is like, when can my kids take lessons?
Oh yeah. So we get that as far as Apache, we get that quite a bit. Yep. And the answer may surprise you. As every kid is different. I know some 20-something-year-olds that do not need to be on the range. It really comes down to, knowledge, skills, and attitude. We can,
boo.
Yeah,
boo, NRA, boo.
Yeah, no, whatever. We can share those knowledge. We can, encourage skills, teach skills, but that attitude is really the big piece that they have to bring. So if they have a good attitude, if their head's, squared on their shoulders, I've taught kids on the range as young as 7 or 8. But they're really well-rounded, squared away people. Of course, parents were there. We had permission from parents, guardians. I mean, they were present. But going from there, it's every individual's different. How flighty is the kid? Are they kind of twitchy and kind of over the place? Maybe we need to spend a little bit of extra time. Can they recite these rules? Can they actually not just recite them back, just like they're memorized something, but do they understand what these rules mean and why they're in place? Why are they important, not just on the range, but off the range, things like that. And there's a lot. You can teach a lot of things. You can teach, cleaning, disassembly, stuff like that bookwork type stuff that without ever pressing the trigger, that once they do press the trigger, it makes them understand just so much more. So yeah, I'm all about, especially on the range, that 7, 8-ish seems to be a good marker for us, or obviously older, but as long as they're kind of squared away, we're willing to take them, willing to train with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. My answer is very similar to that. I'm very hard on the line, which is like, there are some children that, like, there's some ages that I don't want to be in a position where I'm the only adult with a kid that with a kid that young, right? So there's that. Um, I'm also a little hesitant to just say like a hard and fast age, but I will tell you, I've trained kids everywhere from like 5, 6 years old up to, 17, 18, 19 year olds who dad or mom bring out.
Right.
Some good successful examples are like young men in their like early teen, like 12, 13. I got a real good client right now. He brings his son with him occasionally. That young man is every bit as safe on the range as his father is. And he's 10, 11, 12.
Right.
Right? Like, I knew how old he was when we did the paperwork. Let's put it that way. I long since am not concerned about it anymore.
Right.
And my first lesson, one of the things I said to him was like, "Hey, Lan, listen to me. Your dad is here because it is legally and morally correct for your father to be around.
Right.
But from the standpoint of the range and the standpoint of etiquette, the standpoint of safety, whatever else, I need you to understand that your father is no longer in charge and I am.
Right.
From the standpoint of being a good young man and listening to your daddy and doing what's respectful, like I need you to default to dad. But when it comes to like if I tell you something to do out here, I don't need you to think and filter it through your dad first. I just need you to do that."
Right.
And if you think about it, that's the ultimate test of can you professionally train a kid or not?
Right.
Can that kid receive your coaching, your critique, your criticism, or your I'm not a fan of the term command, but it is a command. Like, bro,
Yeah, absolutely.
Stop means stop. Like I go through a list of things on the range with every human I ever take out. I'm not going to tell you, hey, hold on a second. I'm going to hammer the word stop out of my vocal cords so hard that it will make your balls retract into your stomach.
Right.
There's a reason for that. And it's not because I'm trying to be a cool, tough guy douchebag. It's because if I need you to stop right now, I don't need you to stop a couple heartbeats from now. Now means now.
It's a safety thing. I mean,
right.
you have to.
It just can't go another way.
Right.
So if you can't look at this kid and say stop and have them fucking stop,
right,
they shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
that could be a 5-year-old and that could be a 55-year-old.
Right.
So that, their age isn't the number one thing. Attitude for sure is. The other thing is, how susceptible is your child into what kind of learning environment?
Yeah.
We as professional trainers talk a lot about, learning style inventory for adults and adult learning theory and,
right.
Tell, show, do, and all these different acronyms that the buzzword, booksellers of the planet have come up with to teach us how to teach other adults. Teaching children is a whole different bag of wax or ball of animals or whatever the hell that stupid analogy is I just dropped. But it's a different thing. Like, ask a middle school teacher how to hold the attention of a 12-year-old for 42 minutes.
Right.
So maybe the 8-hour one-day class is not the first place to take your 12-year-old.
No, I definitely think the place for that are, private sessions and one-on-one, type environment. You really get to, to feel out like their learning style and really feel out their attention span, things like that, to, really understand how he or she learned best.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I think can accurately be, captured inside of an 8-hour class or a course or something like that. I really think it needs to be something that, is a little more loosely structured, but where you have, it's not, okay, we have to meet these timelines. It's, we're going to start here and we're going to go as far as we can while I have your attention. And then we're going to break when we're done. We may shoot, we may not shoot. It depends. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And of course, as the parent in that environment, you can't be, if you have a preconceived notion of all the things that are on the agenda for today,
right,
Sorry about your luck, pal. My only agenda for today is that we all have the same amount of holes as we had when we started.
That's right.
So we'll see where that takes us.
Right, for sure.
See, so we have a first time caller, long time listener kind of thing. Hello, Phoenix. What's up?
Hi.
Hey, Phoenix.
How
Hi.
you doing? We won't dox you, Miss Phoenix. Are you wearing rabbit ears? What are those?
They're my cat ears for streaming.
Okay.
That beep booping I do.
Yeah,
Okay, sure.
she does this for realsies. We're amateurs.
I don't know about all that, but
So do the cat ears increase your signal strength or something like that?
they sometimes increase my viewers. Like I have it set up to where my viewers, they can interact with my ears and my keyboard and my computer. Like my entire workstation is all linked up, and if you follow or subscribe, donate, anything like that, they boop 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 do fun shit.
Oh,
Kent, we need to invest.
bro. I do the guns. I don't do the beeps and the boops. This is the thing that I'm doing because it's my goal to archive quality information.
There is a future show that we might have to figure something out here.
What do you want to hook up to me is the question. Like, this is
Yeah,
not
I'm
going. This isn't
so
going.
excited.
Like, two bears, one cave. If you guys are familiar with comedy,
I'm thinking relays. I'm thinking tasers. I'm thinking like little clamps that go here. Great things.
You know what? For enough money, I'll let you tase me live.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard that?
I heard it.
Let me make sure.
Dollar amount.
Kent Hauer says we can tase him live.
You have any idea how much primers cost these days?
Oh, bro, I will give you 1,000 primers if we can tase you.
Make that 10,000. I'll do it any day of the week.
He's just like, let's do
Dude,
this.
10,000. That's almost 10 grand right now. I mean, come on.
I'm not like you'd think I'd be more expensive, but I don't care that much.
Oh man.
So
we're 10. So 10,000. All right. We'll
I
take
just want to see Kent be boop. Like I would love to see, because me being an avid gamer, I would love to see him try to play like Call of Duty or something like that. Like me and TJ have talked about this. Like, let's get Kent playing a video game and that be an episode.
I have a feeling like Kent playing a video game is kind of like Tim playing a video game. Every now and then he'll do something, his tongue starts hanging out of his mouth, and then he'll rage quit. Just start throwing stuff.
Dude, I played Call of Duty with our, homeboy over here's been a soldier for all of 9 weeks. So now he knows stuff. And I'm like, bro, do not pause in the funnel. Do not pause in the funnel. You're going to get us killed. Don't pause in the funnel. And he all of a sudden he has nuclear bombs going off and shit. And I'm like, bro, that gave me was a rifle. What the fuck is this shit? I don't know. Like, what the fuck? I didn't know you had to press YZZX3 and all of a sudden the whole board blew up. I didn't know that was the thing. It's like, yeah, dude, we win. And I'm like, I'm going like structure to structure, clear and shit. I'm like, where are you at? He's like, I'm 3 places away from you. Like, you are not doing this right.
I mean, at this point, it sounds like you might actually be better at video games than I am, because I have been spending more time doing other things like being on the range and doing jujitsu and gym and things like that. So I haven't had time. And I sat down and I played Call of Duty with TJ, and he's like, oh yeah, I got the Twitch streamer, this is going to be great. And I jump out of the airplane before everybody else. And he's like, did you just jump? Oh yeah, I forgot what buttons do what. And he's like, oh Lord.
That's great.
Fucking TJ. Call of Duty. Some of us live on the range, others play it on the keyboards. I don't know about you, homie.
All right.
We get you. R.I.P. TJ. He's dead. He don't work here no more. He gone.
So talking parenting.
Let's talk parenting.
Hit us with that great parenting advice there, Miss Phoenix.
First, how old are your kids?
I have my son, my biological son is 13. And then I have been raising my, I guess you could say my pseudo daughter. She was my stepdaughter, but me and the ex are now the ex. So daughter adjacent. Okay. And she is 16.
Okay.
So I got them teenagers.
So what is pick one of the kids. what's the most difficult thing you've ever taught them as far as like a physical skill or like, do you have something in your past where you're like, oh, I remember, like, okay, so the 16-year-old's probably effing around with driving right now, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Are you involved in that process, or?
I'm not really involved at this time in
Okay.
any process, but
Okay.
my son, he stays with me all the time. I have him. He is unique of its own because he's autistic.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's a lot of challenges and a lot of different ways that I have to do things, especially like having raised my daughter. You know, I could just look at her and be like, hey, you know, go do this. And she's like, oh, okay. Sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes.
So I can, not as a parent, but I can relate just in a very small way here. So one of my brothers is autistic, and the just, you know, knowing what you can say and how to say and kind of how to, you know, how they work is just a little bit differently. You know, sometimes you gotta, you know, he's a highly functioning autistic, but sometimes you got to remind him things over and over,
Yes.
say things a specific way. You know, you have to be understanding a little bit differently of, you know, how they react to certain stimuli and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's definitely can relate to that.
With my son is a all or nothing mentality. Like I told him earlier to pick some stuff up, and I pointed out all the things I wanted him to work on in his room. And he was like, you expect me to pick all, I like, my arms can't hold this. And I'm like, just get what you can, go get rid of it, come back.
Right.
He's like, oh, okay. Like I have to break things down step by step. And it's like that for just about anything, including communication with other people. Like I have to be like, all right, well, you know, you said this to your friend and they responded like this. Well, what'd their face look like? How was their tone? Things
Yeah.
like that. I have to break things down step by step to get him to really follow and understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think for my parents, I think one of the struggles that they're having right now is, you know, they're, like I said, they have some new foster, so we have some foster brothers and sisters, if you will, that, you know, they're now you know, in charge of. Well, the foster kids will, you know, bully the autistic brother, you know, not being mean, but because, you know, he doesn't, you know, my autistic brother doesn't pick up on those cues, like he just doesn't. He doesn't know you know, the difference, I guess, there, those social cues. So yeah, it'll,
One of the common things I say, because he'll think I'm joking when I'm mad, and like I'm like, you better go and do this right now, and he's all like, ha ha ha, and I'm like, look at this face. Do I look like I'm smiling? Do I look like I'm laughing? No? Okay. That tells you what? That you're mad?
yeah, yep. Anyway,
All right.
But
So yes, you can pepper spray. Bro, if you're going to give me them wolf junk ass primers, I will let you pepper spray me. But you get to pepper spray me and you have to physically contain me while I'm pepper sprayed. We'll see if this shit works or not. You get a minute and 30 seconds to see if you can put me in cuffs on pepper spray.
well, he's gonna fight you.
oh, I'm gonna try.
For 10
I'm gonna
10K
get
primers.
hurt. I'm gonna be bleeding. It's gonna be so much fun.
This makes, bro, can you imagine the content value between the two companies?
Oh, it'd be great. You know, no, Tim would not allow anything Apache to be anywhere near that kind of video. It would be like pure range smut. Not gonna happen.
You don't think so?
Oh no, I do not.
I think I got one of his ears I could nibble on that you might not have.
You know, you may be right. Yeah, I'll let you cross that bridge with him.
Because the whole thing is, right, like he's not going to want to see me get sprayed, but he's damn sure going to want to see us wrestle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That'd be like, I mean, come on. We'll do it like we'll do it. We have to think through this.
We'll think through it. Let's
no
not.
wolf.
let's not waste Chloe's time.
No, I don't think we are. I think she'd probably hook up her little ear beep boopers and she'd make some money on the deal too.
That's
I
fine.
think she'd like retwitch it or live space book it or whatever.
Bless your heart. I swear you were so touched.
Hey, I might have a little touch of the tism myself. You have no idea. Like I'm there. I'm a person too. So let me ask you this. How would you go about approaching? So you've taught, like, you would like, I assume, to see your kid learn to shoot.
Yes.
So at some point you're gonna put homeboy in a truck or in a minivan or whatever's, and you're gonna drive him somewhere, and you're gonna say, hey dude, like, I hired Mr. Frank or I hired Mr. Kent or some third party that we don't know. I hired somebody to do this. I mean, are you going to, I would hope you would, are you going to approach a person like me and go, hey, so you know, my child has some learning deficiencies or whatever you refer to them as. I'm all up for jokes, but sometimes I politically incorrect on accident. So if I do, I'm sorry.
You should hear the things that we joke about. Like, one of the things I've done with raising him is we've made jokes with him because kids are mean. They're going to make jokes. Yeah. And he'll sit there and he'll be like, that's the best you could do. You should hear my mom.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. Why am I not surprised? But anyway, point being, what do I have to know about trying to teach him as compared to trying to teach myself at that age, as compared to maybe trying to teach you at that age? Like, what are his, if you look at adult learning theory, you have kinesthetic learners, you have auditory learners, and visual learners.
Yes.
Which of those three lines am I going to be more likely to have success with?
He's definitely better with hands-on. Like, if you do something and like he's watching you, he can follow along and do it with you.
Okay.
If you're trying to explain something to him, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. He's going to struggle. He is very awkward with his have you seen Ricky Bobby? Like, he's like,
I'm sorry. Speaking of very awkward, Frank, bro, I'm turning. See what I'm doing with this thing? I am turning this upside down and I'm putting it out of my reach so that you cannot fuck with me anymore. I'm sorry. Continue. So your son reminds you of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, he's like, he does not know how to use his body properly, so he's always just like the most awkward in doing things. Like, he'll go and just be like, I'm gonna pick this up, and I'm like, why are you holding your hands like that? Like, what are you doing?
Like a baby giraffe on roller skates.
Yes, basically.
All right.
And so, like, in my training, I've learned that you just don't go out and you pew pew. There's body movement. There's the way to hold, to hold yourself and like the stance and things like that. So I feel like that would be something that he would struggle with.
Okay. What would he excel at? Like, what are the things where you'd be like, oh, you are not going to have a problem with X?
When he fixates on something, when it's something that he is interested in, he does his research. He focuses, like, is just tunnel vision. So once you get him to that point, he will make it to where he excels at it.
One of the things I've picked up on in my experience with kids with autism, and I do have some, is that a lot of what I teach is TTP, SOP. There's a reason, right? Tactics, techniques, protocol, standard operating procedures. There's a way we do shit because this is the way, mainly for safety, right? Yeah, yes, Grogu, all the Grogus. But there is a way, and this is it. Mine isn't the only one by any stretch. But if you get on a train with me, I promise you'll never be in danger, mainly because we'll be in sync in the terms of like what is and what is not acceptable, how we can and cannot operate on the range, etc. I have trouble with adults picking that shit up. And I've seen kids with learning disabilities be like, he didn't say downrange yet. I can't walk downrange. He didn't say downrange. Dad,
Oh, yeah.
why can't you understand that he didn't say the thing that you were supposed to pay attention to, that you didn't listen to, that I did? Get the fuck back here. Mr. Howard didn't say downrange. I've had that exact experience. And
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. My son will not put a toe out of line unless you were to tell him. If you say, this is the way, that is the way. There is no gray area. It's all or nothing.
So the problem with that, Frank, this is where I seem to remember a conversation that, like, where we talked about GMD's version of the legacy safety talk versus the typical 4 rules and all that.
Yep.
I say a lot of shit that is different, not just to be different, but because I truly believe that we should teach and treat everybody as though they're going to operate within a longer, wider space or realm than what we give them.
Right.
So if we say something directly to a person like him, like, all guns are always loaded, and then we turn around and go, hey, buddy, it's time to dry fire. He's like, the fuck do you mean it's time to dry fire? Just 20 minutes ago, you told me it was always loaded.
Right.
Why would I do this? And like, you get to a point where if you have somebody who robotically goes off a rote repetition like that, you end up kind of buddy fucking them. You end up pushing them back a step to take them forward a step.
Right.
Whereas with a young man like him, I can imagine if I said, we treat all firearms as though they have the potential to be loaded until we've confirmed otherwise. Do you understand? He'd be like, slow that down for me one more time. I'd say it again, and then that shit would be there. So that's a thing that I hadn't always come on to that, but here in the last 5-6 years, every little thing we say matters so much. You've had that experience on the range, dude. But Mr. Frank, you told me blah, and you're like, holy shit, did you take that out of context?
Right.
But you can never have it back because that was their first and most recent interpretation.
Oh, and those initial steps, that's why they're just so important. Again, bringing the conversation back to the kids, like, it's so important to establish those fundamental, safety rules, those fundamental, concepts, those fundamental ideas, so that, because that is going to be the foundation they're going to judge everything else off of. It's crucial. It really is. It has to happen.
So, Miss Phoenix, let me ask you a question. If you were, let's say you don't know me or Frank, you've never met us or whatever, what kinds of things would you be looking for in somebody to teach your particular child? What would you be looking for? What do you want us to be capable of? What do you want to hear from us?
Well, if I was looking for my child, the first thing I would want to know is their experience.
Experience specifically, like, so one of the problems we have that we don't have with a person like yourself, but people come to us and they'll say, like, what's your resume? And it's like, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Do you want to hear cool guy stories about gun shit, or do you want to know that, like, I'm studying and a professional educator? Right. Like, which of those things you care about? Clearly, when you're talking about your own children,
I live in North Carolina in the middle of BFE. There is literally everybody's got a gun, and everybody, thinks that they know exactly what they're doing, and like they are the gun expert.
Right.
Since I have started on this journey in January and showed interest in learning how firearms training, everybody that owns a gun has been telling me,
sure,
oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then when I got to Apache, so many things that like coworkers, neighbors, and things like that have told me, and I was like, see, that doesn't match up, like with what these actual instructors told me, and what their stuff made sense. For example, Sunday, I went to my cousin's house, and he was showing me some of the firearms that he has there. And like, he pulls out the gun and he's just like waving it around and pointing it. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, point it down. Like you're just like pointing a gun. Is it loaded? Like, and he's like, oh yeah, it's loaded, but the safety's on. And I'm like, seriously, like, what are you doing? And like, I literally was quoting Apache to him, and he's like, what? What? Why are you giving me so much? And I'm like, it's safety reasons, like, come on, dude.
You give him the old, don't ever do that again.
Don't ever do that again.
How did TJ fuck that up? What was TJ's? Please, sir, never do that thrice.
Never do that, yeah.
Please never proceed with those actions, like some terrible robotic nonsense. But
I miss TJ.
I know, he was literally just like, hey, would you look at this? This is so cool. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah. Well, how many, like, I can't tell you how many times that we'll say to somebody, this would not be my children's vernacular, but hey, bro, listen, your gun's just like your Packer. Nobody wants to see it unless they really do. Keep it in your pants. Like, what?
So I had a recent experience with a lot
somebody's Packer coming out of their pants when it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
But with firearms coming out. Like, I had an experience earlier today where, my reputation preceded me by just a little bit. What
you hate that?
I know, right? And they're like, oh, man, you'll really like this. And all of a sudden, they're just stuff pulling out of everywhere, of every bag, of every, whatever. I'm like, guys, like, okay, this is mine now. Thank you.
Right.
Meanwhile,
you got the Terminator eye going, PID, check.
Yeah.
Check. Backstop, check. Don't shoot. I really want to shoot. Don't fucking, God damn it.
And it's one of those things where, in this particular environment, it time and place wasn't proper. But regardless, it was, it's North Carolina. I mean, I'm sure it's the same up in Pennsylvania, but it's people are like, everybody's got a gun, or not everybody, but a lot of people have guns, and they are gun experts because they've grown up with guns their entire life. That's the stigma we have to fight down here.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Every dude knows everything about trucks and 4-wheelers and deer hunting and guns and carpentry and
right.
My bio on our site, like my little instructor bio thing, says something to the effect of, like every other dude, I believed I was endowed by my creator with an unalienable ability to do this shit, and boy was I wrong, right? Like,
right.
You just think you know. Why would you not think you knew? And if you apply that logic, one of the things that scares me about teaching people and their children is, like, you start the conversation with dad. Generally dad, like I'll pick on dads. Moms aren't as bad with this, but homeboy will start and he'll be like, well, little Tater over here needs the 4 rules and some help. Well, by golly, I don't know if he could hit much, and that back the beer, but I'm all set. I'm just gonna bring him on out, and we'll have us a class. And it's like, all right, man, come on down. And here comes homeboy, and 13 seconds into little Tater's class, homeboy's like, wait, what the fuck did you just do?
Right.
I never did see that before. And it's like, all of a sudden you're teaching dad, and you're fighting the stigma with dad instead of teaching the kid. And it's unfortunate that you have to, I can imagine it's the same for any football coach or basketball coach or strength coach or a youth pastor, or how many other humans that try to have positive influences over other people's children, where you get put in that spot where daddy's one of them do as I say, not as I do kind of fellas. That could be a real tough thing with guns. So Phoenix, good on you for being the mama who's out in front, and like,
yep.
You're like, you've been at it now for 8 months or whatever. It's been 10 months. Holy shit. It's almost January. You've almost been at it a year. Oof. So that's cool. First of all, does he even know? Is he aware that you've done any of this stuff, or is this
my son? Yes. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Let's see. My first trip to the gun range was in November, and that was the first real time I ever spent with guns. And I told him I was going. I told him what I was doing. I told him the reasons why I was doing it. And when I got back, I showed I brought home, my targets, and look, I probably have them somewhere. Like I've kept most of my targets.
Yeah.
I could probably make a book of targets at this point because I'm keeping track of my progression, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And it only makes sense to me because if you look at it, it's like a big jumbled mess. But like when I'm shooting, I'll fixate like, okay, this is my target over here. And then so I don't have to constantly be changing out, targets. I'll be like, okay, I'm shooting right here. Now I'm shooting right here. And I'm seeing where my grouping is going. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, maybe if I adjust my grip this way or, how I'm holding and, my trigger pressure and that the trigger pressure is definitely my biggest thing right now is just getting used to that moment, I guess you could say.
It's so exciting.
But yeah.
I'm doing everything I can not to just turn this into a 1 hour private dry fire lesson for Phoenix. So we'll do our damnedest to avoid that.
But yeah, so like there's things like that, and like I'll come in and I'll tell him about it, and then the jiu-jitsu, I've recently started it in December, and I started it because of him. I put him in jiu-jitsu because I figured he was struggling with like anger issues and bullies in school and things like that. So I was like, okay, like I know a few people. TJ's talked about it, and let's get you in that. And it was a fight. It was a big argument. He didn't want to do it. He was just like, "Why are you making me do this?"
Right.
And I was like, you need to do this. You got suspended for fighting off the bus. You need something. And I think this will help. And the days leading up to it, it was just constant, teenage angst is the best way I could say.
Sure.
And in that first class, he was like, it's all right. It's all right. And now we're about almost a month in, and he's like, is class today? Are we going today? Can we go? But like he was the one that was like, Mom, I want you to do jiu-jitsu. I want you to start taking classes. I think you'll like it.
Right.
And so he's the reason why I started doing that. But yeah, and that brings up one of the things, like I was saying, that I want to take him to the gun range.
Sure.
But I've mentioned it to him before, and same thing. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. That's your thing. And I'm like, okay. I got the win with the jiu-jitsu, so I'm not going to push anything right now, but I'm constantly like, hey, look at what I did today. And like when I went to Apache, I was like, all right, son, I'm going to be gone, have fun at your dad's. This is what I'm doing. And I was texting him while I was there, is like, this is what I've learned today. This is what I did. And, just try to keep him informed and try to get some sort of interest.
So something that, other parents that have taken, kids out to the range have said something similar. What ended up being the catalyst that got them interested was, hey, son, daughter, whatever, hey, kid, I need to go to the range and do my private session. You're going to come with me. You're just going to hang out while I do my thing. And more often than not, especially if we can plan it out a little bit, we can have, a couple people there, a couple instructors, like Tim or myself or whatever. Then we'll have one person that's hanging back out, getting buddy with the kid, just talking to him, trying to break that ice a little bit. And then after a session or two of that they start to relax a little bit and they're like, maybe I'll try it, and that first trigger press, man, after that first trigger press, it's all gains from there. Like they either love it or they're like, this really isn't for me. So
that's what's like a really good thing to have, like Zach and Landon around.
Yeah.
Like somebody mentally on their level.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It's really helpful to have this, like, it's like, all right, you boys go sit at the kids table over there.
But no, I mean, not to pick on Zach, but Zach does exceptionally well with kids. He really does. Like dude
grew up in the church. His leadership in his dad's church.
Dude.
Shocker, he'd be good at helping other kids, of course.
Yeah, man. I've personally firsthand seen him work with some kids, and he is good. I would dare say that I'm better, but he's he's great with working with kids, and that's it really comes down to he has an aptitude for it, and it works out great. So yeah, it's awesome.
Whose house is somebody getting murdered at?
That would be mine.
Okay.
I live with a roommate who has 3 daughters, and then my son, of course. So there's 4 kids in this house.
Oh.
From the ages of 6, 12, 14, and 13.
Wow.
God bless you.
Yeah, no joke.
What's your
Somebody's always getting murdered. It's just like normal.
I heard that sound. I was like, it ain't my place.
Yep.
Well, normally that'd be my house. Like,
yeah, well, Frank ain't got no guns up yet.
Yeah, I got a 5-year-old killing a 2-year-old, or vice versa.
Yeah,
they're
that
both
was
the
the
same
6-year-old.
size. Yeah.
Frank, do you remember it must have been like episode 5 on the old show before we even did this. TJ and I were talking, and Homeboy showed up in my backyard with a flashlight.
Oh yeah.
And the whole internet got to watch a draw stroke as I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm looking for the park. And I'm like, we're on the internet right now.
I absolutely remember that. That was crazy.
That was pretty fun time.
Is Ken okay? You're like, what's going on?
Dudes are like, shoot him, don't shoot him. I'm like, I gotta shoot him. Poor fucker's just looking for Lower Allen Park right over here. Instead, shows up at my house. He's like, where's the soccer game? I'm like, that shit's been over. That was interesting. But yeah, so that is the second almost murder on the podcast.
Second almost murder.
I love it. So when you talk about young men, and I don't want to get too preachy or whatever, but young men need outlets for their shit. Because that level of aggression and that, like, you use the term angst or whatever, that does not go away. The testosterone needs a place to go. Kids that are not innately athletic, like, he's not going to be into football, he's not going to be into soccer, he's not going to be into skiing, he's not going to be into judo or jiu-jitsu, not because he's into it, but because somebody's going to have to push him into it. If you just let a kid never do man shit, right? And a lot of young men grow up without a father influence in their lives now, which is unfortunate. No disrespect to your son's father, don't know the man, not talking shit, I have no idea. But my goodness, like, I can enumerate for you so many, even in my own family and stuff, where you see like young guys grow up without a father influence that don't have a physical outlet for their testosterone and their aggression.
Yeah, big time, yeah. Who
turn into the kind of guys that you look at and you're like, I don't know about that dude, right? And it comes from that suppression of nature. It's unnatural to suppress that in a young man. Like, feel free to LGBTQ XXOP me and or tell me about like they, their, them, and all that stuff. But like, this young thing was biologically born to go hunt for its fucking food. And you're going to tell it that it has to stay behind a keyboard and never do anything else.
Yeah.
And you're surprised when it turns 20 and goes AWOL.
So I recently had an experience just like this, one of the, foster kids that, my parents are looking after right now. He was getting into fights at school. And it was just, a bunch of stuff that's involved with that. But he came over to the house on Thanksgiving, welcome our family, came into our family unit, and he was real big as far as, nice guy, nice kid, but he needed an outlet. So what I ended up doing was I threw him on my anvil, and a piece of steel. I showed him how to heat things up and, how to, help move the metal with a hammer. And man, he had that 4-pound hammer and just was going at it. And this kid was a green bean. I mean, he was super skinny, very, unathletic, unassuming, but just had a lot of pent up anger. And man, that was a great stress reliever for him, swinging that steel and moving that metal. And I didn't give him any real guidance as far as, I showed him a couple of things to do, but I was like, man, make whatever you want to make. This is your outlet. All I want to see you do is swing that hammer, and I want you to, make something, do something with your hands. And I kid you not, I had to pull him away from that thing. I had to pull him away from that anvil. He ended up making a neat little blade. But I had to pull him away from that because he was just so wrapped up in it. He was enjoying it so much. And that was such a good outlet for him. Not only it was building strength, but like he was tired. Like he was physically worn out.
Yeah.
He was able to get all that energy and emotion and stuff like that out of him. And that was just a good outlet. So you just got to find something to help break that habit, help get that angst or whatever it is. You gotta find out what lights their fire and captivate.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, go ahead, Phoenix. While you do that, I'm gonna look something up because I was just gonna say, I can't remember the book, so go ahead.
But I was just going to say the same thing because my son, he's 13. He's, dealing with a lot of things that you were just talking about. And he sits and plays video games. That is like his primary hobby is Call of Duty. He's, the big bad on Call of Duty amongst his friends.
Awesome.
And, that's cool. It's fun or whatever. I don't diss video games because, Twitch streamer. But I have learned that you got to have balance. And I noticed that, he's spending all this time and he's getting angry because, people on the internet can be not nice.
Right.
And then, his attitude, his internet attitude is starting to spill over into school and how he talks to me and, the roommates and things like that. And I could see that there was a need for that outlet that you were talking about. And that's why he went into jiu-jitsu. Although blacksmithing definitely is another really good outlet, that whole beating the hammer. I've personally done that, and it takes a lot more strength than you would imagine.
Oh yeah. And it's just like I said, there's just something, I don't know, about it that it really struck a chord with me. And for this particular kid, he really he got a kick out of it. He really enjoyed it. He when I said, when we pulled him away from him, he's like, man, when can I come back? When can I do this again? I'm like, man, anytime, come on. Unfortunately he lives several hours away, but I know without a shadow of a doubt he's going to come back, and that's probably going to be the thing that he's going to be glued to the entire time he's here. So, which is fine, no problem. Glad I can share that with him. But it's just, again, it's not to beat a dead horse, but it's very important. So we gotta try and get your boy up here sometime and see.
I gotta get back up there.
Yeah.
Tim was like, come on back anytime, just let me know and we'll get you in here. And I'm like, yeah, but holidays, so I haven't really talked to Tim lately.
Yeah, it's a tough time of year for sure.
I do have to say, all you guys have been super wonderful in my journey through this, because I've got Kent, I've got TJ, I've got you and Tim. Y'all are in my pocket. I call you my little pocket range instructors. Because anytime I go to the range, I'm I'll send a snap and Kent can tell you I'll send things and be like, here's the gun I used and this is what I shot. This is the range, how far away it was, and cool. Things like that. And it's really nice. And Tim, he's always like, okay, well, it looks like you need to work on this a little bit more. And then, TJ helped me out and was like, oh yeah, that gun's keyholing. And, I was like, what is that? What is this strange word you said, sir? And so I wound up giving the gun back to the person I got it from. I was like, you need to go get this, fixed because it's keyholing. And I'm all like, yeah, it's keyholing. I know things.
Cool. Cool. It's a progression, man. That's awesome. I'm really excited to hear that. That's an honor.
I shot a shotgun for the first time last time I was at the range, and I told Kent, I was like, that thing was amazing.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was so amazing. I had way too much fun.
Claymore.
Do what?
It's a claymore. It's just a claymore with sights on it that you can just thwap. Oh, everything over there dead. Good deal.
I think it's funny that you said that. Claymore, very specific. Be right back.
Well, in the words of Clint Smith, pistols go in people, rifles go through people, shotguns
take
will
chunks
take
off.
shit. It will take a chunk of shit and throw that shit across the room. Yeah, I love it. I love it. What book you got there?
Well, so here's the deal, right? Many of my constituents don't know this about me. The first time I went to college for resort and hospitality management at a super duper liberal arts school called Green Mountain College in Vermont. And we read books like Something New Under the Sun, The Environmental History of the 20th Century, and we also read W.H. Auden, The Average Man. So I'm not all about poetry usually, but his peasant parents killed themselves with toil to let their darling leave a stingy soil for any of those smart professions which encourage shallow breathing and grow rich. The pressure of their ambition made their shy, loving child afraid. Nothing was good enough. Only a hero could deserve such love. How many young men have ever felt that in their life? Right? Like, raise your hand, dude. I had the words in my head, but I couldn't remember who it was, and I hate not giving attribution. So that's W.H. Auden. I'm not going to read his whole damn fucking, ridiculous thing on a podcast. But if you leave a young man in a position where he doesn't have a creative outlet and the only things he can do won't measure up, you are literally giving a recipe for failure and disaster. We wonder why people are so heavily medicated, and we wonder why we have what the fucking shit is this? And you wonder why we have like mass shooters and stuff. How many of these guys' daddies just didn't love them enough and didn't spend the time? Like it's
not just the young men, the young women, the young ladies too. It's across the gender spectrum, if you will.
Speaking of gender spectrum, what the hell spectrum is that sword on?
Yes. For those of you playing the home game, Miss Phoenix has a flipping sword that she's dragging in. Claymore. Yeah. I was going to say Claymore, but I didn't want to open mouth insert foot.
I cannot get it. It is one that I'm currently working on. The handle is broken.
If you seppuku yourself on my podcast, I'm never doing another show.
that is.
Do you realize how many blades I have? I have a ridiculous amount of blades.
Is seppuku the right thing? Is that the Japanese sword suicide? Did I say that right?
I don't think the what you said is right, but I know what you're getting at.
Okay.
One of the things that got me into firearms is also main thing, single woman home defense step. Sure. That was the main thing. Part 2, I have a love of weapons. I have so many weapons. There's a bow right there. That's one of 3. Let's see if I can get down without breaking something.
And now we have deterred from talking about kids. Now we're going to break into the weapon craft that is at Phoenix's. Yeah, there we go. Phoenix's place. Yeah, don't mess with her internet.
Yeah, there is a weapon within arm's reach of any point in my room.
Yeah, none of them serve any real purpose, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Was that Michelangelo's salad fork that you just had?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No, Michelangelo's salad fork.
It's Raphael.
Yeah, get it right, Kent.
Sorry, wrong amphibian.
Yes, it's Raphael who had the size. That's what this is. It is a sai.
I know a guy named Raphael that had. Never mind. Never mind.
Gosh.
Never mind. Okay, so back to the kids.
Yes.
What would be your? We're just gonna pick on your son.
Okay.
We usually pick on Zach, but what the hell? You brought us a new toy to play with, so we'll talk about him for a while. What would be his motivating factor? Like what would get him out of bed to want to get him to do something like this?
If I had the answer for that, I would be happy.
I kind of figured that. That's kind of why I wanted to explore it. Is he looking for your approval or your affection's not the right one? I'm sure you give him plenty of affection.
He is not looking for my approval. I am mom. I am the gross mom who is not cool, and
that's 100% why you got to just bring them up sometime. Let one of the guys kind of hang out with him and literally just hang out with him, invest in him, find out what he's interested in. The other kid that I was talking about earlier, he had no interest in firearms at all. It didn't grow up in a family that had them, didn't care for them. It was extenuating circumstance why they were even there. He and I bonded over Minecraft of all things. He showed up. He was playing Minecraft on his little tablet. I'm like, man, I got Minecraft too. And I whipped out my laptop, and we were playing Minecraft together. And one thing led to the next. I was like, yeah, I got my own server. Here, come play on my server. Shared the URL. So we kind of bonded over that. And then
come play on your server.
No problem. I'll share it. But
is there a giggity that's supposed to follow that?
Do what?
Giggity.
Should I follow that with a giggity?
Oh, giggity. Yeah, no. It's a legitimate thing. Anyway, so moving on from that, that rapport that I built with him is what started his journey. So and to this day, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I could reach out to him and be like, hey buddy, I'm gonna go plink. You want to come? And he'd be like, yes, I'm talking to mom now. Let's do it. Let's go. What are you gonna bring today? One of those kind of things. So it's for me, I kind of view it like a mentorship kind of thing, because, even though they're on the range to learn a skill, they're learning firearm stuff. I'm 100% invested in them as an individual or, as you an individual, just like any good firearm instructor is. If you do come out and do one-on-one stuff, you can ask Tim. Many of our students that come out, first 30 minutes or so of their 1 hour session is let's talk about their day. And they're telling us about their life. And which is perfectly fine. I'm all for that.
Except that I'm not equipped to be a professional counselor.
No, not at all.
We end up but we on the real, we end up in places where it's like,
oh yeah,
okay,
for sure. And it carries a lot of weight, but but what's the nice thing about that is being able to understand the student, whether it's a kid or an adult, understanding them to the point of, okay, I now have more tools in my bag to be able to relate the known with the unknown. What are they passionate about? What are they interested in? And how can I relate this back to the skill that I'm trying to share with them? It all goes hand in hand. It really does. And nothing warms my heart more than to have, a kid or something like that, some young adult that, calls me up or shoots me a text or something about looking for, hey man, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm doing. Similar to, the conversations you and I have, Kent. This is what I want to do. Am I on the right track here? What do you think about this? Very much so what led up to this conversation, right? It all comes for a full circle.
So I feel like I dare not stray into the negative, but at the same time, I want to bring something up that matters to me. So we'll go there, which is if you're going to put your child in a position where this other third party adult is going to be their mentor, in any capacity, you should really have some sense of who that person is and as an individual.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
Something that bothers me is it's almost as though it's a box check. Like, hey, I want Billy to have first aid training. So Billy, this is Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard, this is Billy. Mr. Howard's a wonderful guy, Billy. You should learn first aid from him. And I'm sitting here like, motherfucker, if you knew me at all, you'd know that calling me Mr. Howard doesn't last but more than 2 minutes around here, for one thing. And for another thing, I don't know why you're telling your child I'm such a wonderful person. You have no idea who I am. You're lucky I am a good, solid human person, but I could easily not be. And we see all the time. We see coaches, we see teachers, we see religious leaders, we see whoever, Boy Scout people, go in the wrong direction with somebody else's kids. And I don't just mean I don't mean the obvious, like the every stand-up comic joke about the Catholic priest shit. I mean, if you're going to tell your kid to emulate somebody's values, you better understand what those values are before you tell your kid to emulate them.
Absolutely, 100%.
Because when I'm not, you can only get so much different out of me and who I am. So when I say, hey man, guns serve a purpose, and one of those purposes is to make bad people stop doing bad things.
Right.
Let's talk about timers and switches and why those things matter. And then you come back later and you're like, you told my kid what?
Right.
Like, dude, who the fuck did you hire? Like, why are we here? You could have hired Johnny Eagle Scout. You didn't hire Johnny Eagle Scout. You hired a guy who teaches defensive firearms for a living.
Yep.
So don't be surprised when I talk to your 16-year-old about anatomical targets.
Yeah.
I don't stand there and like, shoot him in the face. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, when the exposure takes your kid to a place that you weren't ready for them to be taken, don't be surprised.
Right.
And don't shoot the messenger on it.
Yeah, and that's really comes back to a conversation, time and place. That's not the conversation I'm going to have with a 9-year-old necessarily. No. But you're absolutely right. It's what we're doing, what we're teaching, what our end goal is it's defensive use of a lethal weapon potential. God forbid it ever happen, but I want you to be absolutely prepared. And how many examples are there of literal kids, I'm talking, still less than 18-year-old, who have defended their home from a home invasion, or have defended their family, have defended their siblings, there's evidence after evidence. There's documentation galore of this exact thing happening. And it's a sobering thought. I don't ever want my kids to be put in that kind of position, but as they grow older, as we'll say they're left at home, they're of an appropriate age where they can be left at home alone, whatever it may be. I want to be solid in the fact that they have the tools to defend themselves, or they have the tools to be able to identify what is a threat, what tools do they have at their disposal to stop that threat. It's something you don't want to think about. It's every parent's worst nightmare, but at the same time, man, you have to visit it. Just like, how many of you, or how many parents out there have ever taught their kids how to use a fire extinguisher?
Right.
A fire is much more likely to happen.
Have an evacuation plan.
Yeah. Right. It's something like that's much more likely to happen than, a home invader. But, what's it cost for a fire extinguisher? Like $10, $15? For $10-15, I could have taught my kid how to pull the pin and, squeeze the trigger and put out a fire in my, in the fire pit in the backyard. And that's just a peace of mind, so that they know moving forward, that I can do this and I know how to use this tool. I view a firearm as no different. It is a tool. It has very specific consequences. But as my kids anyway, as they age, or I want to be able to share this knowledge, share these tools, share this mindset that you have to instill in them. And some of it's dark, especially when it comes to deal with self-defense. So I'm 100% on board with that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chloe.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm so glad you brought that up, because as a parent, as a mom, I have spent 13 years keeping my son safe. I wouldn't say sheltering him, but just, protecting him from the dangers and the dark things in the world. And at this point in his life, I feel like less sheltering and more preparing is what I need to start working on, because he's turning 14 in 2 months, and then in 4 years he's 18 and he's fleeing the nest, and he needs to be prepared. He needs to know how to do these things, and what to look for in dangerous situations, so he can keep himself safe when I'm not there, because it's at this point he's getting to the age where I'm not always going to be there.
Yeah, and with someone with autism, that is all more important. Reading those social cues,
Yes.
that may be one of the hardest things that he's going to have to figure out. And starting teaching him that kind of stuff, starting to expose him to that, not in an ugly way, but just trying to encourage the being able to notice what those social cues are. The furrowing of the brow, the looking for targets, things like that. That's all things that think that happen.
John Murphy. Let's hear the rest of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot that's involved in that you can pick up, but especially if you're not, if you haven't been exposed to that, if you haven't been taught what those cues are, if you haven't have any kind of exposure to it, it's much harder to pick up. Yeah, I summoned my inner John Murphy there just a little bit.
Managing unknown contacts.
There you go.
I love it. That's actually look up the Shivworks Collective.
Yeah.
Phoenix, and look up either Craig Douglas or Paul Sharp or later on John Murphy teaching the Managing Unknown Contacts protocol, where it's what's this person's orientation to me? How are they positioning their body? Are their eyes making target glances? Are they looking at the thing they want or the place they want to put themselves?
And then ultimately, how can I counter these?
I'll tell you, I don't want to give away a training secret from somebody else, and this is one of those things that we. And God Almighty, I even hesitate to say the guy's name on the internet, but I'm an alumni of Jaeger's tactical response fighting pistol shit. I took that class too, mainly because people kept asking me what I thought about it. So I said, fuck it, I'll take it. I'll see what it's about. And he taught what I would consider to be a mediocre, subpar attempt at a pistol class. And I'm man enough to have told him so to his face. So fuck this. I'm not like speaking on somebody else for the hell of it. But I will tell you this. He has a drill at the end of his class that points out all of those things and manages to do it with live fire pistols. And safely, which is something he's knocked for all the time. He's always knocked for safety.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, dude, he came up with a doozy of a drill that showed all those things in one level context by simply changing one variable on us. And I was like, motherfucker, this was worth it.
Yeah. See, and that's the kind of thing that it's difficult to emulate on a range environment. I mean, it really is. So we got to explore that a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you think about, so take Tatiana and her neuro-linguistic programming,
right?
Throw in a little TTP SOP, give me PID, give me backstop,
right? Give
me orientation and give me distance. Throw in a little ability, opportunity, jeopardy, and then throw in a little bit of the social cue shit,
right?
And try to make a drill that incorporates all that.
Right.
I can do it. I tell you right now, I can do it. I can do it with you.
Right.
I couldn't put Phoenix in that position yet.
Right.
And the minute you start
stacking that stuff,
well, you have to be a certain level student to be able to. Then all you're eventually going to do is you're going to allow one person into a bad situation that you shouldn't have put there in the first place, and then you're going to be surprised when your student fails.
Right.
Which, if you think about it, is a perfect analogy for kids in the first place, which is just like, how do you know you can trust them until you give them the opportunity to go and earn some trust and go pick up on some of these skills for themselves?
Right.
I'm doing my damnedest never to shelter James in the first place. Easy to say, another thing to actually do. And, I'm a daddy who's like buried a kid already, right? So,
right.
Like, it's easy to say I'm not going to shelter my kid, and then it's like, God almighty, I probably am going to shelter the shit out of my kid, whether you want to say it or not. So I think what we're really talking about on a show like this is finding a balance of when to pull back on the reins and when to let go of them sons of bitches entirely and just go, let's see what happens. And finding a controlled environment in which you can put that child, for which, like, clearly Phoenix isn't over there. Like, now little Phoenix, from now on and forever, your son's name could be some cool shit like Chuck Norris or whatever his real name is.
Zombie Ninja is what he goes by, but
I mean,
I like him already. In my world, he's going to be Little Phoenix.
he'll hate that.
Okay, perfect. Even better.
Zombie Ninja.
I love it.
But you're certainly not going to tell him, like, you know what, dude? I want you to dust it up on the bus. Like, I want you to fight every motherfucker who says anything. Clearly, you're not going to let him test it there. That's not a socially acceptable, good idea. You don't want to turn your kid into a monster. So what are the appropriate outlets where you can give him a little bit of this space and a little bit of this leeway, while at the same time doing it with professionals? Because just like gun shit, I promise you, there's a jiu-jitsu gym you could send your kid to where he would turn into a total shitbag by hanging around those dudes.
Right.
And I could think of plenty of gun dudes I wouldn't put Zombie Ninja hanging out with. There's a whole list of gun guys. I'd be like, yeah, those guys know exactly what they're talking about. I would never leave my kid with them.
Right.
Not because they're going to do some terribly inappropriate shit, just because I don't want them picking up 16 hours of what this guy has to say.
Right.
That's all.
When I was looking for his jiu-jitsu gym, there's several gyms in the area that I live in. I messaged each and every one of them, and I had like one message that I copied and pasted, and it explained the situation. It explained, Xander's autism. It explained everything. And I waited for replies. All of them said pretty much the same thing. Classes at this time on this day, show up. Except for one. One gym was like, do you have time to come in Sunday, you and your son, and we can sit down and talk?
Awesome.
And I looked at the gym's hours. They're closed on Sundays.
Right.
And that told me right then and there, he is taking personal time out of his day to sit down to talk with me. And we went there, we showed up, we sat down, I talked to him for a little bit, and then he turned to Xander and was like, what's up, dude? Tell me your side of this story. Let me hear from you. And I just kind of, ninja vanished and, let them have their moment, their time. And it was like, by the end of that, Xander was like, I'll give it a shot. I'll see. Yeah, well, I guess we'll do it. And like they're fist pounding and like,
yep.
He got down on Xander's level. Like he went the distance to find out about me, about Xander, the situation, and everything. And that was the moment when I was like, this is the gym that we need to go to.
Absolutely.
Can I tell you something right now? I just like every once in a while you need to hear some version of affirmation from somebody else. And dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, it would be so easy to turn this fucking thing off, stop having those conversations, stop on the emails, stop the giving. I mean, Jesus Christ, Frank, how much of our ridiculously valuable time with our own families and our own wives and our own kids and whatever else. God almighty, I've been that dude at jiu-jitsu. I want to know what's this jiu-jitsu gym? Where's this guy at?
It's Phoenix Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, look at that. Sponsored by 42 Phoenix at whatever the fuck .yahoo.com.
Phoenix Jiu-Jitsu. Coach's name is Jason, and he is just absolutely amazing.
That's
when my son started talking about me joining, Jason was like, come on, let's do this. And like, didn't even, charge me for that class. He was like, just jump in, let's go.
Sounds like Jason's one of us. I like this dude already.
Like, oh, he is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. And there is a day where like we're doing our drills and, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't do this. I can't do this. And he's like, yes, you can. You got this. Let's go. Keep going. We got this. and like he refused to let me, and at the end of the day I did it, and I was pumped, I was energized, I was like, I did it, I really did, that was me out there, and I was super excited. He was like, I knew you had in you, I just didn't want to let you give up.
Man, this dude is a tank. I pulled him up online, dude. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
I like that shit. Yeah.
no,
We
he is definitely a great guy, and like he loves all his students. He does the kids classes, he does the adults, the advanced, and he's just a down to earth wonderful guy. Like he even like he'll talk to me about my time at the range, and he's like, how are you doing with that? It's really great that you're going through all this, and just really there. It really tries to make a difference in people's lives.
Well, we don't do it to get rich.
Nope.
Maybe just a little richer than we started. Lord knows.
Nope.
Oh God. I'm telling you what, every year about this time, I start looking at the books and I start looking at the tax numbers and I start looking at the like where the investment has put me in the family and stuff like that. And I'll tell you right now, dude, I could make more money washing some goddamn windows or plowing some driveways or reinvesting the time I take with this and put it into my I don't even want to say my real career, because anymore GMDs outpace my real career. But like, it would be easy to let it all get lost in that sauce. But that extra time that's taken is that I think is really the difference. That's who I want. I don't know who the dude's going to be or who the girl's going to be someday, but there's going to be somebody in James's life that's that person. They might be a clarinet instructor, a ballet instructor, or Lord knows who the hell they'll be or what interests they'll have. But I want that person to put as much into it as gentlemen like like you just mentioned, and gentlemen like Frank, and gentlemen like Tim, and we've been blessed to have all those good influences. It's pretty cool.
I've never had so many positive people in my life at one time until this year, and like all the adventures I have been on this year. And it is just like, it has filled my heart to the brim. Like, I love all you guys and all the help and all the work that you do, and that you show just so much kindness and compassion for other people. It's absolutely amazing.
It's one of the things your boy will learn is, as he grows into manhood, it's one thing to be a tough guy. It's another thing to be a tough guy and still treat people with respect and kindness and softness. And like, God only knows, I'm witnessing myself here, right? Like, I can remember a time when I was one and not the other. And you try like hell to be that complete good man, that complete good solid guy. And this is all part of it. And if I hate to tell you this, but maybe your interest isn't in teaching people's kids, or maybe that's not your forte, or maybe you don't have the patience or whatever like that. But if you have to wonder, like, man, would somebody even want to leave their kids with me or not? Well, you might have some work to do.
Right.
And if you feel at all, if the thought of kids is bothersome to you because they're annoying or they're loud or they're disrespectful or they're a pain in the ass or they don't listen or whatever. I don't know what adults you work with, but Jesus Christ, most of the adults you work with in a professional basis are loud, disrespectful, don't listen. Like, I don't know what the difference is, honestly. I just think it's interesting when people from all different walks of life. What is this?
It's bye. Zach said that he's heading to bed. Bye.
Oh, Zach's going to bed.
Night, Zach.
Night, Pookie. I was just going to say that Zach's bed will never be as warm as it was the other night. It was amazing.
Goodness.
Actually, funny story about that. Zach sent me back to the cabin in Crocs. I had to like trudge through the cold in Crocs. It was an interesting night. But like when you look at the impact that you're able to have on people's lives and the people that come to this from, you know, homegirls on our podcast wearing some bunny ears, and she ain't kidding, right? Like, she probably ain't gun people, except she's gun people. She probably ain't jits people, except she's jits people. She, like, you look at all the different folks that you have the opportunity to have a positive influence with. And then I hate to say this, but from our own culture and our own community, if Phoenix don't want to bring her kids to the gun club, maybe it's not a her problem. Maybe it's a you need to stop being such a blowhard redneck dickwad.
That's right.
Right. And maybe take 5 minutes and realize that if you want to talk about the future of this, right, of this passion, of the sport, of the hobby, of whatever version of it you want to talk about, it's easy to pound your chest and slam your hand on the desk at the gun club meeting. It's a whole nother thing to take a Sunday and go sit with a mom and talk about whether or not her kid should even start this in the first place. And I know dudes who do this shit for free. And I mean for free. Don't even have a company. They're putting themselves at a pretty dangerous liability perspective because they don't even have the proper insurance to be taking somebody else's kid out or whatever, but they do it anyway. That's to be commended, right? Because look at the level of diversity we've been able to bring in without even trying. Nobody sat down. Frank, I must have missed the meeting when we were like, hey, we should find more crazy people on the internet and bring them into our little circle. Like, we never had a plan. We just were always good people to others, and that's who shows up.
Right.
And then they bring that level of diversity and individual experience to where, like, here's a mom who's parenting a kid with autism. And how valuable is this? I'll tell you right now, 35 firearms instructors will hear you talk about teaching people with autism.
Right.
That will have been the accidental positive consequence of tonight's conversation. Which literally started out with me just being like, hey, you know what? You should do this for your kids. And look where it took us. And that's all on accident. We didn't, we often get accused of these like happy accidents having been planned. Like, did not happen. It just goes the right way sometimes. So I think it's pretty cool. So let's get into, we've turned a quickie 45-minute show that I was going to be on by myself into a 2-hour and 20-minute hammer down session, which always seems to happen when it goes good. So let's get into, like, Chloe, you've either been listening or been on the entire time. Is there something we didn't cover that you were like, oh, I want to hear them talk about, and we didn't get into it?
Honestly, I can't even think. Let's see. As far as bringing kids to the range, one of the things I would be concerned with is, like, I don't know how you instructors do it, but like, I feel like that would definitely, like, when working with kids, especially younger kids or like 13 and below, I definitely feel like it would probably be a good idea to not do like multiple kids at one time. Like the class that I was in, there was 4 of us, I think, total there. And I feel like if you don't have enough instructors, to be with each kid, then that would definitely be problematic. Because while you're over here with little Timmy, Jacob's over there, oh.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think we had talked about that a little bit earlier, but I really think the place for that until, the kid's, been around a little while and really has a firm foundation are those private sessions, those one-on-one kind of things where, parents are there, instructors there giving all his entire attention to the kid and it's not divided in any way. We've gone as far as, parent would schedule like a 2-hour session or 3-hour session or something like that. Half that time would be for the kid and only the kid. The other half that session would be for the parent. As far as a class similar like what you had taken, I can't remember a time, at least the one that's Apache's taught, where we've had any more than one kid that was in the class.
I'll tell you what, I can.
For as far as a kid for Apache,
not for Apache. For me, I've been there, done it, and so right, like what are the things we do in all classes? Admin control of condition and disposition of tools. Right. Who's got what? Where the fuck is it?
Right.
What did they bring for it? Excuse me while I pat you down because I don't believe you and I don't trust you and I don't care about your feelings.
Right.
We are going to dry fire and dry fire only right now. I mean, I've ripped slides off of Glocks and taught 4 and 5 kids with 2 other humans, right?
Yep.
And you've literally got kids is not a pun, is a spectrum, right? Is a like it was a family. What usually happens is something like this. In this particular example, 2 brothers wanted to get their children a group but private firearms lesson. So we had 7, 11 on one side and 9 and 15 on the other side, let's say. Right. And we had Justin, myself, and Hirsch to do the teaching. And look, man, I don't want to see shit for guns leaving that minivan. Like, you're right, it's in America and all that shit. I get it. But when it comes to this place, like, I don't need daddy going, oh, yeah, and by the way, and coming up with another gun. Like, we have to know where all the stuff is. Condition and disposition of tools. So that's something we have to really seriously care about. And then we have to be able to manipulate the status of those tools to the point where they're so inert that they couldn't hurt somebody with 5 minutes alone with them, let alone an accidental flagging or something like that is not the end of the world with a bare slide or excuse me, a bare frame, right? Chloe, you tracking what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? So
yes.
I literally have given young man a half a gun. And I've
taken
taken
that with me.
Right. I've taken the other halves of guns, I've put them in my box, and I've spun my code, and you can't get in my box. And we now know the status and condition and disposition of all tools, and there are no tools that can cause serious. I mean, besides the fact that we're still on a gun range, and the little idiot can pick up a rock and hammer down on his brother or something, like we're pretty sure that we know what we're doing, and then we run individualized drills, and then we run to use Apache vernacular, the arc of ready, or in my terminology, like weapons flow. Like, hey man, this is the way the weapon can flow. It can only flow this way. If we allow it to do something else, we failed. And we continue to step that up to where now we're dummy rounds and mags. Now we're dummy rounds, mags, and slides. To where maybe kind of sort of the end goal by the end of the day is that the individual little humans can walk up, click, clack, boom, one good one, put it down. Mr. Justin, how did I do?
Right.
And then, continue to add back. We also had a family fun day at our range where we taught 90 little kids in an 8-hour period.
Yeah.
In a super controlled, super freaking like cattle shoot mentality of every kid got the same spiel, right? I don't know if you noticed with me or not, but a lot of my shit is like, this is the way, this is how, this is why. And I was like, if you guys want this done, there's only one way to do it, and we're gonna do it. But boy, don't I like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. But this is how it's done.
And I'll agree with everything you said, except for where you said, we think we know what we're doing. You know what you're doing, especially when dealing with kids and going through that kind of stuff.
I might have mixed that up. We think they know what they're doing.
No, no, it's we want to make sure that we're 100% squared away and committed and focused in on that. And on the personal side, not as Apache, but I've done other big events to where similar to what you're talking about. You got like 90 kids, something like that. We didn't have 90 kids; we had like 30. But it was more of an introductory, kind of plinking kind of thing and it was very much structured. It was one, you come, you put your stuff on this particular table in this particular fashion. You grab this firearm when I tell you to. At this, you load when I. It's very rigid, very structured. But man, it's because I don't want 10 people going out on this farm shooting at cans and whatever else God knows that's out there. Good safe backstop, but I don't want. I want no single point of failure. I want everything to be done my way. That way everyone's goes home with the same amount of holes they showed up with. It's nice and safe and controlled. But,
it's if you think back on that, unfortunately, in a lot of instances, you can see times where how many awful YouTube videos have you seen of first-time people being exposed to firearms? Nice. Kids or chicks or dudes or whatever's, right? And there's always a campfire. There's always an empty beer or 2 or 11. There's always a camera. And there seem to be a plethora of uncontrolled guns that nobody has any clue what the statuses are. And go ahead, honey. Let's see if you can blast that there pumpkin.
Or worse. So there was actually an incident that was in one of our local communities. This happened over the holiday weekend where, alcohol was involved. A bunch of people, this one gentleman in particular, it's like, oh yeah, I got my gun, and pulled out a gun, and he went to go press he pressed the trigger, and he was like, oh well, it wasn't loaded. Well, it was loaded. He was one of these guys that you rack the slide to load it and then to press trigger. Well, he had one in the chamber, and he was messing with his friend, and he blew his friend away, killed him. Over the holiday weekend. It was negligence, 100%. And, you can't, that kind of stuff should not happen. Unfortunately, it does. But, it goes back to that, especially in our community, that mentality, that good old boy mentality. I've been raised around firearms, all this kind of stuff. It just, it's hard to get through. And then the tragedy happens. And then everyone's, reeling backwards going, well, why did this happen? What could have we done different? Well, you could have had some, common sense. You really should have reeled it down, focus more on what you were doing, not have a firearm in the vicinity of alcohol. There's just all kinds of things there that, can, all kinds of red flags.
Frank, when's the last time you got invited to a range day?
To a range day?
My gun shooting friend buddy bro pal dudes used to invite me to range days.
Oh yeah. So
it's been a good 10 years since I've been invited to a range day.
So our church used to do this thing called a Bullets Bible and Barbecue. It was like a big men's.
Lord Jesus!
Oh, I know.
Lord Jesus! I'm full to the brim with the Holy Spirit.
It was just like a big group thing. A bunch of guys would come out and they'd we'd do like devotional together. We'd eat some good barbecue, and then we'd have a range set up. Nice big hill. Bunch of steel targets, and the guys would just bring out all their things. And at one of those events, I was absolutely adamant. I said, I will not go to this event. I will not participate in any way, shape, or form unless I am running the line.
Yeah,
it's going to be done my way. And it was successful. It happened like 2 or 3 times. I think COVID happened, and we haven't started it back up. But the first year when I said, yeah, I'm there, but I'm handling the line, I made a lot of people upset because a lot of people were wanting to show up and just shoot their whatevers 10 feet away from a piece of steel, just dumb stuff. I'm like, it's not gonna happen. So
yeah,
quite common.
Oh yeah, especially in our community, it's just that kind of thing is the norm, and it shouldn't be. But
you
it is.
You guys talk about North Carolina like it's North Carolina, but I'm telling you right now, we got Perry County, Pennsylvania up in this motherfucker. And
right.
them trees don't have so many branches.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's just like when I decided to go on this whole firearms journey. It is not the absolute first time I've ever shot anything. I've had airsoft, I've had paintball. I mean, I did grow up in North Carolina. Like, I know how to ride a four-wheeler. I can go mudding with the best of them. You know, like I am just your typical country girl born and bred who just likes video games and nerdy shit.
All right.
So, you know, like, it's not uncommon for me. And, like, my dad is a Army vet, or was an Army vet, and, like, I grew up around guns. But
Yeah.
I did not have the hands-on experience to really understand and know. So, pretty much when I came into this, I came into it with the idea that I know nothing. I just kind of like everything that I've ever seen or heard. I was just like, okay, let's just go ahead and let this out, and I will learn from in a professional setting the do's and don'ts and the how do's.
Yeah, and that's the right attitude to have.
Like,
Far too many people don't have that attitude or don't, approach it in that manner.
I said something to Tim in the class, and he told me he really liked the way I worded it, and he's going to copy it. You cannot fill a cup if it is already full. And that's exactly what a lot of mentality of people around here have is, oh, I already know what to do. I've been raised around guns. I know stuff. I'm good.
One of the more terrifying things from our perspective is like when you do the 20-minute class check. Hey man, tell me who you are. Tell me why you're here. Tell me a joke. Right. I start every class just like that. Tell me why you're here. Tell me who you are. Tell me a joke. Literally every time.
Holy Similar Batman, they did the same thing at Apache.
I do something a little different, yeah. Instead of a joke, I do give me something you love, give me something you hate.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, Tim stole that from me.
I know. And you know what's funnier yet is it's so cool to see. Like I'll never forget the first time you dudes were on my range, and I was like, "Tell me who you are. Tell me why you're here. Tell me a joke." And Frank was like, "Fuck, God damn it, that would have been a good idea." And then I was on their place, and he's like, "Tell me what you love. Tell me what you hate." I'm like, "God, we all do." What's cool is like we all do the same shit without like. There's a way to do it. There's a solid way to figure out who people are, and then there's not. And but my point is when you hit somebody with that, if that dude's damn it, Phoenix, I'm stealing that shit too. If somebody's cup's already full and you hit him with tell me who you are, tell me why you're here, tell me a joke. The number one, the guy or girl who cannot bring their level of ego down to the point where they can tell a joke, that's a red flag. That's an automatic like, this person is already fucking 10 steps ahead of me. So I have to reel them back in and bring them back down to earth a little bit. The other thing is if I say, tell me who you are, tell me why you're here, and you begin to, and here you are, you're at handgun fundamentals, and you start your, I first touched my first gun in 1947 when the Krauts were coming over the wall, and I've been done growed up around them there gun. And you'll hear this dude give you his gun resume, and number one, it's a shit resume. But number two, more importantly, this guy has no self humility to be able to be like, you know what, just here to learn. Look forward to hear what you have to say. I'll be honest with you, I'm primarily here for my wife. I was trying to encourage her to come out and do this, so I figured I'd be a good model and come out here and do it with her too.
Right.
What you hear is this laundry list of guns they have and things they've done and stuff, and you sit here and you're like, boy, this is going to be a long day with this dude. I already know. And sure shooting, the guy who spent the 5 minutes that you gave him to tell the whole world who he was, explaining to you how much he knew about guns, he's the guy that you're like, I got you, pal. I have to keep my fucking eye on you all day. Meanwhile, Mama Cat Ears over here who rolls in and goes, "Hi, I love you. Will you teach me things?" You're just like, huh.
I mean, there's
no ego tied up in this whatsoever. I can probably proceed without the assumption of ego, which is really what you're trying to fight. And when you bring in the kids, don't forget that they have their egos too. And as you're trying to push back these stigmas, you have to understand that you're not fighting somebody's attitude as much as you're fighting their ego.
Right.
And if their ego can't get out of their own way, then they might be the nicest, most bestest attituded person. The guy who's always nice at the crosswalk and lets everybody by and doesn't fight about parking spaces, pets puppies, and takes his mama to church on Sunday. If he still has an ego and you're trying to teach him while the little devil's still talking on his shoulder in his own mind about his ego, them lights are shut off and ain't nobody home.
Yeah.
And all them words ain't getting through. Magnify that with, God forbid, a learning disability, or just magnify that with immaturity and inexperience.
Right.
You have a recipe for somebody to leave with a hole that they weren't supposed to leave with.
Right.
Like, it could absolutely go tits up on you, and you have to be prepared for that. So I'm just like, I tried to segue out of it a half an hour ago. The podcast is ending. We are done. We can come back and do this another time. I have a very cold venison burger that I barely picked through over the course of 2.5 hours over here. Tired. I won't go home. God damn it. So now that I said that, Mr. Frank, thank you so much. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Miss Candace over there is too giving with your time.
Yep.
She's in the bedroom right now tying up the ball gags and the chains and whatever. No, not happening.
No. She's probably sound asleep.
Yeah.
That is guaranteed.
Yeah, it happens. I feel you, man. Thank you for just like, I want to do this as always. You, man.
No problem.
Appreciate you. Miss Phoenix, thank you for bringing some class and some like internet fame to our fucking little shenanigan show here. Plug yourself, please. Where can they find you and beat people with you and pay to make your ears light up?
Well, there's, twitch.tv/42 Phoenix Rain. You can also find me on Instagram. It's also under 42 Phoenix Rain, and I am slowly working on a YouTube channel, like very slowly. I've barely played around with it.
Don't make it about guns or they'll censor all your shit.
Well, it was supposed to be gamer in real life. All these adventures that I am going through with this year is things that I've done in video games. So, yeah, like I've been a gamer my entire life, and like first-person shooter Halo girl, like that's my thing. Halo, Call of Duty, and Resident Evil, you name it. So, obviously, try firearms in real life. Forging, blacksmithing and forging. That's something I've been doing. I went not camping. I went hiking. Been to the top of a mountain. Just many things that I've been doing this past year is all things that I was inspired from video games from.
That's a damn cool concept.
Well, I spent so much time behind the screen doing all these cool things going, man, I wish I could do this. Well, why wasn't I?
You can.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing.
You fucking can't. You probably can't dress like an Italian plumber and assault turtles.
I mean, maybe.
That's a Mario joke. Fuck off. I played that game. I know what that is.
He beep booped that one.
I did.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, he got it.
No, but I make chainmail. So I mean there's some cosplay stuff that happens on occasion. Like, here's a chainmail piece I'm working on.
Awesome.
Oh, that's going to be like probably like an armband or something like that. So I've talked with Frank about blacksmithing and forging. This was the actual first piece I've ever made, and it's a Nordic rune for protection. So yeah, just a gamer in real life, unplugged.
So we're gonna bring you back on just to talk about that, because you just spurred on about. I said it was over, and goddamn it, I could ask you another 10 questions. So,
oh, I'd love that.
To be continued, but I have questions. So 42 Phoenix Rain on all the socials. You selling anything? You doing any?
I do have a store. Oh,
what you selling?
It's just branding, like my brand, and
so merch.
Yeah, merch.
Cool.
I couldn't even begin to bring the link up to be able to give it to you at this moment. So.
That's all right. My t-shirt link only works 2/3 of the time myself. I feels the pains.
My store is on my Instagram though. If you go to my Instagram, you can get you some cool 42 Phoenix Rain swag with my catchphrase, "What do?" and all kinds of other silliness.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, among all the other things that you have and are doing and experiencing, you're a mom first. So thank you for your freaking representing the moms of the world tonight. That was cool of you. Thanks for jumping in last second like that.
I know. I was literally, when you messaged me, I was like, burrito in here. Oh, hurry up.
Nice. Well, thanks for jumping in and doing it. Frank, do you want to plug Apache Solutions for any reason? Like
absolutely.
On training and so forth.
Absolutely. So Apache Solutions, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Come all. Do private one-on-one sessions, do a ton of different classes. We have some awesome classes that are coming up. You can check out our Eventbrite. We have our low light considerations class. It still have open seats. It's $50 a seat.
God damn it! I've got 10 more questions about that too.
Yeah. Next time.
Tim still owes me an outline.
Yeah, he does. It's fantastic. We've worked on it quite a bit. I'm super excited. We have all of our awesome, nightsticks and little, Kemp lights and things like that. Make sure everybody's safe. Quite a bit of work's gone into that, so I'm excited for that. So that's going to be on January 7th. Starts at 5 and goes until 8, I think, something like that. Then we're going to the coast. We've got a couple classes that we're teaching out there, some workshops, coast of North Carolina. And then we'll be bringing everything back here for our Glock familiarization class. That was super popular. We're bringing that back. It's just a Friday afternoon, a couple hours.
When you say the coast, do you mean Vodtac or?
No, it's on Herbert. It's we're taking it down to Dan Brady's place. It's in like I said, just in Herbert, North Carolina. Just got a couple of Flatwoods Outfitters. Got just a couple of workshops we're teaching down there, so that will be a blast. So anyway, check us out, ApacheNC.com. You can reach out to us by email at info@ApacheNC.com, and for sure check out our Eventbrite. All the things: Facebook, Instagram, Apache Solutions LC, and come check us out.
So, what's the one class that you're most looking forward to in 2022, and why is it defensive pistol metrics?
Defensive pistol metrics.
No, seriously. Like, you guys have a packed schedule. What's the one that you're like, oh shit?
In all seriousness, probably the advancing everyday carry that's happening in PA. Super stoked about that one. But no, we do have a packed schedule this year.
Which one that's happening in PA?
What now?
I got snaked on this motherfucker. I was supposed to be the first one to bring you to PA.
Yeah.
And then Phil Groff got to texting with Tim.
Yep. That's between them. But
I don't know about all this.
I am.
I'm crashing that class, just to let you know.
You should do it.
I get an invite or I don't, I'm rolling up in that motherfucker.
I'm excited about getting around and like I said, sharing some of the some of our classes and some of the courses around. And we got a lot of good stuff that's happening back here, but we're starting to travel a little bit more, so that's exciting. We've been invited Apache has been invited just all over the place. Tim, he's speaking at Girl and Gun Conference this year in Colorado. So we're really starting to stretch out a little bit. It's now official. We're teaching at TACCon. So that's on the schedule for this year. So yeah, it's a lot of good things.
You're teaching at TACCon and I'm teaching during TACCon.
Yeah, giddy up.
That sucks.
That does suck. And then, see, next year you need to go to TACCon.
Yeah, well, I know.
You need to come and rep Apache as you do it, just like all the other. We get told that we're like a cult or something like that with all of our Apache swag and things like that, just in every class everywhere. And then we take 6 of the spots, 6 of the for shooting competition or whatever. Right? It's just. Yeah, we showed up in a big way last year, and I think we're going to try and do the same thing this year.
What the fuck are you doing?
I have so many props.
The props.
This is my workstation, so there's all kinds of just random, this is Frank.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. I'm over here is there a point to the octopus?
It's a skeleton hand. Get out of here.
No,
the little octopus. That's funny.
Whoa, turned blue. Oh, he's all pissed now.
Yep.
And the other one was probably happy, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I got it. All right. Happy versus sad octopus. Who knew?
In case you don't know what mood I'm in.
Oh.
That's
Frank, I gotta tell you, I'm not willing to do all this for viewers and likes. I don't think I could do it. I honestly, God, don't think I could do all that shit she does. I can't do it.
That's fine. We'll stick with the taser and we'll move to the pepper spray. We got this.
Oh my God. So let's see.
You don't want to do the singing because I do singing.
Hit us, Kent. Green Mountain Defense. What you got?
Oh God. GreenMountainDefense.com/training. Defensive pistol metrics is going to be in 5 places this year. So get on that and go find it.
So you're bringing a show down to North Carolina sometime, right? Yeah, it's
October 7th.
October 7th, yeah. Oh, interesting.
The weekend of October 7th, we're going to be doing it big down there. Oh God, it's also going to be here local in a couple spots.
Awesome.
It's going to Ohio as soon as Mr. Scott gets back on the mend over there and we get our dates together.
Yep.
We've agreed in principle that it's happening. And then we was texting and then he got the vids. And so I'm waiting to hear back on him for that. Then, of course, med. We're teaching med at least once a quarter from here until infinity. We've got all the handgun fundamental stuff that we're always doing. Privates are just redonkulous on the calendar. So please hit us up for privates. And digital training, you can't forget that. I will get on the beep boop machine with you. As terrible as I am about beep booping, I will get on with you and I will go through dry fire work with you. I will go through grip. I'll go through all kinds of the little individual things that you may need help with. And I'll make sure we can square some of that away. And of course, we just do digital, consulting, right? If you need to pick a professional's brain for an hour, we get 3 of them. So we'll put one of them on there with you and let you ask all the questions you want to ask.
Pocket instructors,
exactly. We do 2/3 of our pocket instructoring for free, but we do get paid for it occasionally. So you can buy our time digitally on the interwebs if that's something you really seriously need a lot of. We're here to help you with that as well. As cool as all my stuff is, oh my God, Tim Heron, Scott Jedlinski, Tim Kelly and the Apache crew, Ashton Ray and the Shotgun 360 craziness. Yeah, we're doing the hosting too. We're available for corporate events. No, that's not a joke. We've been teaching a lot of gun handling and gun skills to corporations. and we've been doing a ton of full bird private classes. So if you see some weekend and you're like, why the hell isn't GMD available? It's not because we took the weekend off. It's because some private entity paid us to teach some people. So if you want to be that person, if the XYZ family or whoever you are wants to pay for our time and wants to do it, we're happy to do it with you, and we'll get out on the range and get the work done. So hit me up. To all those of you who put in your time, effort, energy, and money to train with us over the last year, this will probably be the last time you get to hear us talk at you. So to all the alum, to all the people who came to all the classes, to everybody who supported over 2021, thank you for being the best part of Green Mountain Defense. We couldn't do it without you. And your support, your patronage, and your trust means the world to us. We are teaching martial skills after all, and some of you haven't used them, which even means more of the world to us. So get on the train, man. Get out here, get with us. Let us help you. And if we can't help you, we have dedicated our lives and our free time to putting out digital products that can help you, such as podcasts and a whole goddamn pile of resources. greenmountaindefense.com/resources. If I think they're worth a shit, they're on there. So go train with them, go hit them up, go patronize them. Here's Miss Chloe's an example of somebody who I couldn't physically reach in the moment, but my friends could, right? So that matters a lot. And that's probably one of the more important things that this outreach and this podcast has given us. All that being said, this podcast would not be possible without the people that help support us. Our industry friends at Primary Arms, we really appreciate all your help and support and guidance. Quite honestly, I'll just shout out Justin real quick. My man's been super helpful on the guidance front and stuff like that. He's been a real solid dude, so we appreciate that. And we appreciate all of those of you. This is not something we say enough, but we should. Dude, Frank, you give more time, effort, and energy to the show. I really appreciate that. But you're not alone. How many people have come on here, been a guest, given free info? God almighty, man. The
2021's been great.
Dude, the catalog of quality human beings and one shitbag that have been on this show. Hey, man. Hey, it one slipped through the cracks. We had no shit. We put on so many of it, and we leave it up. Go dig around and find the one terrible episode we ever did with the awful person. You'll be able to figure out who that person is real fast, right? It's never going no place.
I'm genuinely curious now.
You'll have to do some hardcore digging but it's there. It's all there. Everything is there. I don't hide nothing.
Right after I first saw your Sling'N Lead podcast, I spent an entire week at work watching Sling'N Lead podcast for 8 hours a day.
Live?
Huh?
You ever watch Sling'N Lead live? That was the show before that was the show.
I don't know. It's everything that was on this channel up until the very first episode that was just cringy compared to what you guys got right now.
Yeah, well.
So, but you got to say the best one was the Apache takeover. I mean, it has to be.
So Sling'N Lead live was TJ's. TJ and I met on somebody else's podcast, and that one went. There is an episode where a person was giving some training advice, to which TJ and I unanimously responded, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Just like that, in that tone, at the same time. And at that moment, we did the Hollywood Squares thing because we didn't even know each other, but we were like, "Are you down there?" And he's like, "Are you up there?" Like, we need to be friends. Like, it was just like that. And TJ was like, "You want to take this, Hoss?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let me explain to you in intricate detail why what that asshole just said is going to get somebody killed." And I just went that episode's probably been pulled off of that dude's channel.
See, I would love to see that.
But TJ and I had he had Sling'N Lead live on his own channel before, and he asked me to help him with it, which genesis into this. But that show had one really awful human being show up and be an awful human being, and we're like, well, the show's over. But click. This person was like in mid sentence and then just disappeared. And TJ's like, that didn't go well. And we thought it was off air, and the whole thing was on air the whole time. Like, it was.
Oh wow!
It was amazing, fantastic stuff. So all that to say, right? It's been a crazy year here on this here show. 97 episodes in what amounts to just under a year and a half, 2 years. Like we've kept up with the solid work, and this show has literally been a who's who of professional martial shit with guns and med. And
one noob.
And hey, man, no, you are by no means the only noob. You probably are the only one with an inside-out octopus, but you're not the only noob. So we appreciate everybody that's been on here. So for Mr. Ramsey and for all those of you at home, this will be the last time you get to hear us say this for 2021. Take care of each other. We love you. Get out and shoot. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Toodles.